Right, all right, all right. You already know what time it is. It's an open court discussion time, live in the counselor's corner. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the controversial counselor. And joining me is my co-host, the big bad wolf, Herb Lewis.
Oh,
And we also have the lovely Jackie Brown. And
Blessed evening.
we'll just have to see who else decides to join the panel tonight. So, recap from this past Monday show: body shaming and modesty in dressing. Is there a misunderstanding or problem? Unfortunately, I had a power outage, uh, but if I had a power outage, and Herb and Jackie did an excellent job holding it down. If you want to hear the content from that particular show, then you can go back to YouTube and check out the replay from the broadcast body shaming and modesty in dressing. So tonight, here we have it. Dating, is it complicated or do people make it complicated? Here are two reasons I think dating is complicated. Number one, dating is complicated because people are dealing with previous hurt and pain and they can't move forward. Number two, I think social media complicates dating because people expose their relationships all over social media. So stay tuned as we dive deeper into that conversation. So we're going to move on to the next segment, would be segment two: ways that women use men. Number one, free food, because women really love food. You know, Jackie may beg to differ, but women love food. Number two, unexpected pregnancies. So I'm gonna stop right there,
ooh,
and because
ooh.
I know I probably got the water boiling. So we here tonight. We'll be streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Please like and share the video, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I think right now, about here I said 28 subs away, maybe like 25, 20, 26 subs away from 600. So still growing, trying to push to that 600 mark. Then, be trying to push to that 700 mark. So please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Tell a friend, tell a family member, subscribe to the Counselor's Corner. So, all right, here we go. So what's going on with people?
Championship Sunday is in the books. Some fans are upset. Some fans are elated. All I know is that in 2 weeks, my therapy begins.
I thought about you too during the Holy Lord. Once the Eagles won, I said, Lord Jesus, it's about to go down over there with you. It's on. People clear the
And
way.
you know what?
Leave him alone. Don't bother him.
I don't really. The thing, for me personally speaking, for me, sports has always been an outlet. My 8 boys, 3 girls, most of the younger males in my family, we grew up with football. Football was number one. I remember being out in Griffin Manor. And I stayed in court 11, between court 11 and court 12, and I can still go out there and look at that particular corner and see myself as a kid playing football. So we had a section of grass that was probably about 60 yards long by about 40 yards wide, and we would get out there and we would play just endlessly. Matter of fact, and this kind of segues into a different thing, which I really don't want to get involved in. I remember being out there at the time when they were taking soil samples out there at Love Canal for the whole thing that emerged from there. And we just played for hours on end, man. Just it didn't matter. I was young when I got out there. I was like 7, 8. And I remember distinctly remembering my older brothers and the older kids around and say, hey, look, if you get out here, you get your butt knocked off, you better not cry. And I didn't. You take some hits. And I'm playing with kids that are 90 to 100 pounds. And, it made you tough. It really did. It made you tough. You grew up tough. You grew up learning that you could take some pain, and it was okay. So I have fun. But for me, I don't. I sports, like I said, sports has been an outlet. So you know, I like to talk trash. It's good banter, especially when you get people that are knowledgeable and they witty. You start to develop the ability to be able to find holes in the argument and get back at them, and it sets you up to be a smarter person and a more skillful talker. And in the end, for me, with the right person, you end up developing friendships. Case in point, when I went to the New York Yankees and now the Cleveland Guardians, of course they were named something else. I sat among nothing but mostly Guardians fans. There was some Yankee fans up there, and the funny thing, going into the stadium, which was the coolest thing, I ran into like hundreds of Yankee fans. We got people down there doing TV interviews. I'm regaled with dozens of people who I don't know. We have one thing in common: we want to see the Yankees win. There was no talk of racism. There was no talk of all the nonsense that we generally see from day to day. And for me, sports is always, it's a getaway. Think about it. When 9/11 happened in this country, there was talk about stopping sports. People were like, no, don't. Sports in this country, I don't know about anywhere else in the world, but sports in this country has always been a galvanizing thing. It brings people together more than it takes us apart. Even though we have our squabbles about what city is better, what team is better, this and this. At the end of the day, sports is integral to American society and to a lot of what we view ourselves as. You can look at the World Cup if we want to take it global. Rarely do you hear about anything bad happening during the World Cup, and you got people of all cultures, nationalities, demographics, and ethnicities. Everybody's there for one thing: soccer.
All right, all right. Yeah, I mean, the games. The first game, unfortunate situation with the quarterback situation. So Philly, it was foregone conclusion that they were going to eventually win that game. But that Cincinnati and Chiefs game, that was nip and tuck. That was a good game. It was unfortunate for the bonehead play the guy made at the last um, one of the last plays to put him in field goal range. Is about self control and discipline. But that's their culture has changed, but that has always been part of Cincinnati culture, to do crazy stuff like that. But it's changed over the years. But I know my heart aches for that dude because he gonna be going through it until he get back on that field for next year and hopefully get an opportunity to get another chance to go to the Super Bowl. But that's that. Like Herb said, sports is always a buffer or relaxation. To me, it's motivation, um, just to see, how they go through their daily grinds or just trying to get to that pinnacle of success. So sometimes you have to equate that to your daily life and use that as a tool for motivation. But other than that, that's what's going on. It's Monday, so things haven't really heated up yet. But for me at work, it's always coming. It's a never ending thing. And we're in the third quarter of the school year, and I can't believe this year went by this fast. I mean, I think that's just a microcosm of life. It's just going by fast, fast as hell. And damn, we like I said, we seem like we just started, but here we are. Another school year is about to be down. Anything good with you, Jackie? Good, bad, or indifferent?
God is good. I'm just right there, right there, right there, right now. Just holding on to God in regards to my life and everything else going on. So
Okay,
outside of that, I'm just going with the flow of things and keeping the faith.
that's a good thing.
Hmm.
All right. So, for the nature of the conversation tonight, the first segment, dating, is it complicated or do people make it complicated? Well, yeah, different people have it's a lot of stuff that goes around on social media or just regular, just general conversation amongst people talking about dating, and they say there's just so much with it. You have a lot of people say that, they're out of the game, or as someone who could have been with someone married for a while and then they uh, went separate ways, and then they're trying to jump back into it, and they realize that they say there's so much to it. So some people say they've checked out, and I guess they're waiting on that Prince Charming or that princess to come through. But no matter what, you're gonna have to put in work. Is work required in dating, and people got to realize that. Hey, Swanda, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. So, dating is complicated. Tell me, what what's your take on that? We'll start with you, Jackie. As far as is it complicated or do people make it complicated?
People make it complicated. So many
You know,
people come in with so many deceptive ideas, thinking that they may just want to get one thing out of the relationship. Sometimes it's a man just wanting to hit it and quit it, or sometimes it's just a woman trying to get whatever they want from it. But either way, there's a selfishness that comes with a lot of people in dating, and that's not a good thing. You're not coming to be 100, and if you're not 100 stepping in it, then I don't think you're ready for any relationship, because no one can fill any void that you have uh, personally. A person can be a companion, but they can't make you a whole person. So the thing is, if you're not coming in whole, you're bringing a lot of baggage that you haven't even tried to work on, then you're bringing in a lot of problems. So, that being said, back to you.
all right. So, Herb, what's your take on this whole dating and the complications of it?
Now, I got to concur with the young lady who's just spoken, man. This is the thing. Life, and I always say this, going to repeat it. Life is one big relationship. And at the center of those relationships are people and things. We have people, just like Jeffrey said, that are treating people as things. And I always say, no matter where you go on this planet, you take you with you. And what I mean by that is this. There's a place in Toronto that I always go when I go there to eat. It's called Marché. It's French for market. I walk into this restaurant and all I can see is food. All kinds of food. For my heart's content. But 90% of it, I'm not going to eat. We have a people that's like that when they date. Even though they're not going to eat a particular food, they still will pick it up and put it on their plate to waste it. And we have a lot of people that treat people just like that, whether you're male or female, heterosexual, homosexual, hermaphrodite, eunuch. People have got to actually start, and I'm a proponent of this, and I date like this, of putting what they want on the table and then moving in that direction to get that. Anything that takes you away from what you want is counterproductive. And we have a lot of people that don't mind engaging in counterproductive behavior. So when you get that, you get people that are out to damage people, whether it's intentional or otherwise. And I'll say it's intentional, because if you don't have nothing but malcontent for an individual that you're around because you don't want anything else from them other than maybe time and sexual compatibility, and you haven't let that be known, you're out to destroy another person. And I quoted Alan Roger Curry and his multiple books. God rest that man. He's left behind. If you don't know who he is, please go search his content on YouTube. I won't get into who he is. He has, I believe, at least half a dozen books out. I'm still in the process of picking up the rest of his literature, along with a lot of other people from dating circles. He never considered himself to be part of the manosphere, even though his content was pretty much as close to red pill content as you can get without being red pill. He put out a lot of information for men and women alike, to read, absorb, and to make part of their everyday discourse, if you will, with other people. And I think that's part of the larger thing that has gotten away from us, is that we don't discuss these things. We would rather sit around in our own enclaves and our own echo chambers and talk about these things among people who agree with us. And that doesn't make you a smarter person. It doesn't open you up to critical thinking. And I think that harms us.
So y'all both said some powerful things, and I'll piggyback on my first point when I led off with the introductions that I said it's complicated because people are dealing with a lot of previous hurt and pain, and we've talked about this before that no one takes the time to try to rebrand themselves or come back bigger and better before they go into the next situation because they automatically think it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. He did this. He cheated on me. Or, but not ever going digging into the root causes of anything to realize, yeah, both played a role in it. Yeah, both played a role in it. But a lot of times people don't want to look at and say, well, I probably could have did this better. Yeah, I was a jackass. Um, yeah, it was times that I stayed at work. I probably could have called, but I felt like I don't owe anybody no explanation, and just different nuances like that. Uh, but then you go into the next situation, kind of with the same mindset,
Mm-hmm.
and not letting your guards down to say, "Hey, this is new and fresh. I'm going to give this person a shot, and I'm not going to label this man or this woman just like the last." Because the one thing for sure is if you go into something and you talking about your ex and you're bad mouthing them, and every relationship you had, you bad mouth them, that's probably a red flag. That's a red flag. Like, damn, this dude just or this chick just negative as hell, and you'll be the next victim sooner or later. So you have to be mindful of those situations, and it's a learning process. So for me, when people like, oh, I did, I was dealing with this person for 2 years, it was a waste of my time. I don't know if anything's a waste of your time. You learn and grow, and hopefully you learn from it and move forward. But a lot of times people don't put that into play to figure out what they can do better for the next time.
Yeah.
I'm
Go ahead, Jackie.
I really have to add to that. The thing is, okay, when you mentioned about how people may come in and start complaining about the person that they were with, I find that hmm, quite a few people that I've come across, um, and also I can go back to my own younger years of experiences that would make a person say that, quote and unquote, well, this person did this person did that. Um, my thing is, when you find that a lot of people out there that don't um, have body counts and don't um, get into too much stuff, and then they're mistreated or ill treated um, through their lives because of their ignorance from being not so knowledgeable about life and how horrible people can be. Because outside of the people that I've counseled, and I understand where they're coming from. For example, I'm not from this country, right? So not being born here, it takes it's a big adjustment to even figure out how the mindset of people in America works. It was a horrible experience as a child when I came here. The kids here were horrible. Some of the people here was just mean and nasty. They claimed they couldn't understand us because of our accents, so we were like targeted to just be picked on, all that stuff. So I'm gonna keep it personal for now. I went through years of secluding myself from people because I felt like people brought problems, people were mean, people were nasty. And then when I finally was open enough to be in a relationship, my own being naive about life and people, it caused me to be mistreated, hurt, damaged, emotionally, mentally, and all of that. Because when people know that you don't have the wherewithal to check numbers or look at what's going on or even take or just take them for their word blindly without even checking to see if what they said is true, then people have a tendency, and a lot of men have a tendency of making sure they use you. By the time I found out that my first literally was dealing with other people, we were 3 years in a relationship, and his brother accidentally told me that, ooh, he had a son. Accidentally now. Said he wanted to pick up his
Christ.
son. I said, his what? And then I'm sitting there saying, he's like, oh, you didn't know. And mind you, during this whole period of time, other people are letting me know that they saw him when he's supposed to be out of town at school. He was coming back here to sleep with all these other women. I didn't know, but other people knew and was telling me. Even my own family members saw him. They was like, "Oh, they thought he came to me," but I didn't. It was a mess. So, in my
Mm.
own innocence of trusting someone, just taking their word for things, the abuse that came, the mental abuse, just all the stuff that you don't need, the lies, the whole getting threatened by other women, and you didn't even know nothing about these people. Just things you go through unnecessarily, and I could bring that to, tell my next relationship about these things and whatever, and they're like, man, you too nice for this for this stuff. And that's the whole same. I'm not that naive person anymore, but I've grown through relationships and the hurt from them because I trust people. I give them the benefit of the doubt until they prove me wrong. But I'm not that way fully anymore. I will watch and see, ask the right questions, and then I go from there. Because people will show you their true self. As long as you're paying attention, you will see it. And red flags will come as long as you're around a person long enough or listen to them long enough. Then they'll show you and tell you who they are. So I'm grown from the person who I was, but that taught me a lot. And even when you go into a relationship, when they see that, ooh, this girl is really just a sweet person, she's just so naive and stuff, then here comes the games from the other person because they've already figured out who you are. They know that you're not going to run around trying to figure out if they're cheating or not while they're doing them. And then it took me to another place of, my God, why am I even doing this? Because I'm asking God, why'd you make me like this? I'm too good for this world. I'm too good for people because if people want to just abuse somebody that don't want to hurt nobody and just want to be there and always just trying to help, come on. What is wrong? I used to blame myself for being who I am. This nice person who just a godly person who just don't want to see the worst in people. And then I had to be shown the worst in people from those people. And then finally say, girl, it ain't you. You need to step back and look at the realities of this life and the people in it.
That was deep. That was a lot.
And
Okay.
you're from Jamaica, correct?
Yes.
How long have you been in the States? How many
I'm gonna
years?
come here. I'm gonna come here since '79.
Okay, so roughly about 43 years.
Mm.
Now, I can't really speak on the culture, the island culture, specifically Jamaica, but I will say this. and this is for anybody that comes from a different culture, because whether we want to believe it or not, Jamaica is an insular place. And by insular, I mean they're generally not affected by most of the things that we are. So their culture to a larger degree is intact. Whatever happens there is generally of their doing, meaning that they don't have somebody coming from another place bringing their culture with them being destructive. They don't have anybody else bringing other ideals from another place and interjecting them into their culture. So she came from a place that operated one way and goes to another place that completely operates in a way that she's unfamiliar with. And thus she's set up to be abused, misused, and discarded, which is what I was alluding to earlier. And unfortunately, for an individual such as Jackie, what that does is it erodes the faith in humanity. And that's a larger problem that we just don't even think about, because we get too immersed into ourselves, into what we want. And that's not wrong, borderline selfish, but not wrong. And here's why I say that. All of us to a degree are narcissistic. We want what makes us happy. We want what satiates us. So anytime, and I mentioned the buffet reference, so anytime we go into a buffet and we see something, we want it. If it's the last one, you're saying, you know what? I don't care about this individual. I want it. Unless you find somebody that's altruistic. And I mean truly, in the sense of the word, they're altruistic. But then what happens if you get another person that's altruistic? All of a sudden now, you go from saying, no, you can have it, no, you can have it, to an individual that comes in between you, says, okay, if you two don't want it, I'll take it. And then you two look at that individual and say, the nerve of you. Well, wait a minute. You were saying that y'all didn't want it. Y'all were passing it to the other individual. So what's wrong if I take it? We get to a point where when we were not aligned with somebody, it causes friction. As opposed to just saying, okay, you know what? Let it go. It reminds me of the movie Fight Club. And for those of you seen Fight Club, you'll understand the reference. When he tells him, take your hands off the steering wheel and just let the car go. Just let it go. We have to be able, as people, coming from different cultures, different places, with different experiences and different levels of understanding. Sometimes we just have to let go and get into our lane and stay there. This is why I always talk about asking questions, putting that on the table. A lot of people are afraid of being judged. Newsflash, you're going to be judged one way or another. Be judged for the truth and not somebody else's perception of you, because once you put the truth out there, nothing else can stand against you.
That statement right there they should just cancel that. Cancel that. I know, Jackie, you don't swear and all that, but sometimes I have to say a little swear word here and there. They need to cancel that shit.
Sometimes I do.
Yeah, sometimes they need to cancel
Things will
that,
push you
whatever.
to.
Yeah, because when people say don't judge, you're gonna get judged. You get
Yeah.
judged every time. When you walk out the house, you're getting judged. Whether somebody,
Hmm.
maybe you don't hear it, but when people look at you and come up with an observation, you're being judged. So you're being judged no matter what. You go through every day, all day. It's a bunch of judgments, But that's that. We got Anetta here. I want to read Naomi's comment. She said the concept of dating is simple. People are complicated. So we kind of talked about that, but we got Anetta, the life coach, on here. How you doing?
Hi, how are you? How's everyone doing?
We're good. How
What
you
I
up?
doing?
am blessed.
What up? I miss you guys.
I'm seeing she wearing is that a brim you got on there?
Oh, of course, I wear hats up
Ah.
and down here. My closet has it. I have a hat aisle now.
Uh-oh.
I'm
Uh-oh.
real
Let me find
into
out.
want to kind of counteract what you said about narcissistic behavior. We live in such a society that we'll make the most serious thing a fade or a fad or whatever. Narcissistic behavior is a personality disorder.
Mhm.
And I get kind of annoyed, I guess, because being in mental health and behavioral health, hear people just use that so loosely now. Oh, I'm tired. I was dating a narcissistic. I was dating. So, oh, he was narcissistic. Oh, she was narcissistic. I'll be like, was they diagnosed?
Yeah, I know.
Are you self-diagnosing, or are you diagnosing because you don't want to deal with the reality that you made a bad choice? So when I think about the narcissistic personality disorder, it's a mental health condition which people have an unreasonable high sense of value of themselves, of importance. I do not say everyone has that, so that's why I say I counteract what you said, because a lot of people don't. Think about this. Let's unpack this. I sound like I'm talking to my clients, don't I? Let's unpack.
Go ahead.
Unpack this. Okay, so in most relationships, you don't have someone that's narcissistic because, in most times, people do not have the importance of themselves because they battling self-esteem. A lot of people don't want to deal with rejection because they may have dealt with rejection with their father, their mother, or whatever. So they get into these dating relationships looking for this man or this woman to solidify their 30 plus years of issues, which is not fair to that person, because all they looking for is, can you enhance what I have? I'm happy, but can we put some enhancement on the happy? But you don't know, in the midst of asking for that happy, that you have to deal with their post-traumatic traumas that they've dealt with as children, as adolescents, as teenagers, to adulthood, because a lot of people are walking around and not dealing with their triggers. So then they want to
Exactly.
date, and they dating triggered.
Exactly. And it's like
Okay.
they draw triggers as well, because the people that you actually are, where you're supposed to work on, you'd actually draw those people that you shouldn't have. Like if you know that you have issues with certain type of men, if you know that those men lead you to do certain things and you're supposed to working on that side of you, they turn around and just keep drawing those type of people to them by choice, because
Yeah,
they don't
because we
want to work on
attract
their
people,
stuff.
don't want to be honest. We attract most of the time where we are emotionally and mentally.
So
Okay.
true. So
I
true.
realized that I started attracting men who did not want a relationship, who didn't want
Hmm.
commitment. And I was sitting there like, oh, why? You say I'm so wonderful. You say I'm such a great woman and I'm such a great catch and everything on paper looks great for me. But why don't you want a relationship with me? And I
Hmm.
had to dig deep within
Yeah.
myself and was like, girl, you don't really want a relationship. Stop playing with yourself. That is just some superficial fad that you got in your eyes. You really still healing. You still trying to connect to Anetta so you can be the best Anetta. You really don't want. Yeah, you have the capacity and the tenacity to love somebody, but you ain't ready for that yet, because you still got a tad, like 10% of I'm selfish and I'm triggered because I'm selfish because of the
Hmm.
pain that I dealt with. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? You're not ready
Hmm.
to be responsible for anybody else's emotions and feelings. Because soon as
Exactly.
that comes to play, you ready to run like Forrest Gump. So you have to come into reality with yourself and say,
Hmm.
what am I expecting from this? What am I giving to it? The bad thing about relationship and dating now, people are walking in with expectation, but they're not walking in with the giving.
They're not walking in with the ready,
No,
because
no.
when you
But then
get
you think
ready,
about it, nobody actually ever really, I say this all the time to my clients. You're never going to be ready for anything, because if you were ready, you would know what you're ready for. You don't know what you're ready. Everything in life is unexpected and unpredictable. The
correct.
only thing you can predict is, I got a job. I got to be up at 8 o'clock in the morning. But if God so fit don't wake me up, somebody else gonna have that position. That's the
But
only
here's the
thing
thing.
you can predict. I think sometimes we oftentimes think that we can predict or we know the outlook of something. That's why I say this, and Herb knows me very well. David know me very well. I say this often, don't I, Herb? Be organic about dating. Stop walking in with this unrealistic expectation and walking in and expecting the man to solidify all your issues. And then you want him to solidify all these issues. You solidify his. Stop walking in unexpected. And I think as women, I say this often. That's why I ain't been on the show. Y'all gonna get mad at me again. Oftentimes, women come in with these unexpected emotions and looking for that man to solidify them. He can't solidify something if you don't communicate it. You thinking, oh, he just should know. Why should he know? He only known you 6 months, baby.
And first
What he
of all,
gonna know in
nobody
6
reads
months?
minds either. And how is he going to
Right.
read your mind? But where I was gearing to, what my statement was the fact that when people come in ready, they should be working on self. Nobody goes through any relationship and think that just because the relationship is over or whatever happened in that relationship to cause it to end is not going to leave that person unscathed. So my thing is, if you come out of a relationship that you can't figure out why this man left and didn't stay or whatever, and you keep attracting the same person, type of people, then it's time for you to not you per se, but it's time for that individual to stop and say, where do I play my part in this? And why is it that I'm drawing these people? So now it's work time on that self of yours as a person and as a man or woman. You got to work on self and say, okay, what's causing these people to run away? What am I doing? And what can I change about myself? And it's all about where you are as a person, how, like you said, self esteem. And another thing, self worth. And where do you stand in a relationship when you get into one? It's not just about the expectation, but if a person isn't coming in whole, you're going to come in with the amount of baggage that's going to cause your thought process to be off and everything else to be off. So if a whole person is not walking in, you got two broken people, or you got a half a person or a quarter of a person trying to get with a whole person,
Person.
it's never going to work. The thing is, I'm talking about individual working on themselves, individuals doing the hard work before you drop luggage on somebody and expect for somebody to fix you. No one is out there to fix anybody. We're supposed to either already taking care of business on your own to make sure that you're walking into a situation that's going to be conducive for your life and with someone who is going to be the person who you want to be with, and then making great decisions in the process. Because I think once you come in as a whole person, everything else going to fall into place because the thing is going to flow just like water. But if you don't come in whole, yes, those unrealistic expectations that narcissistic people do come in with, because you can't sit there and imagine in your mind about what something's going to be when you haven't even spent no real serious time talking to that person to see where their mind is at, to tell them where you are at. A lot of people don't
Well,
even
first
understand
of
who they
all,
are.
people do the ultimate wrong thing when they start dating. They send a representative instead of being themselves.
Ain't that the truth,
Okay.
girl? Go,
That's
girl.
the
Yes, they
biggest
do.
thing. They send a
Go, girl.
representative. And
Yep.
so, how do you get past someone not, how do you get past not being engaging with the representative and engaging with the real person? Because sometimes you have to go to the place that they are quite familiar. You got to go to the pond where the frog sits at, where he sleeps at. You got to go to that pond. So you got to go and figure out, okay, where they hang out at, who they be around, and you got to sit among them, unaware, him or her, unaware that you're there, and you got to find out the movement of the person. People don't date with true intentions; they date with trueness to gain. They're
Mm,
not dating with true attentions. So what
right.
happened is you got to ask yourself, what is healthy dating? What does it look like for me? What do healthy dating, healthy relationship? Healthy relationship involves with honesty, trust, respect, open communication
Yep. There it
between two
is.
people. It's the taking the effort to compromise at a will of not sacrificing your soul, your spirit, and your individuality. That's
There
what
it is.
healthy dating is. But when we start getting outside of the healthy dating, and now you're dating somebody and you're dating them and you're sacrificing your being to be a part of somebody else being, that's not healthy.
No,
Let me
And
let me
oftentimes we don't realize what's not healthy and what's healthy because we haven't dealt with our first relationships.
and their
well,
self
well,
relationship.
let me say this. Let me say this. One thing I forget that people are always dealing with, that proverbial timeline. That timeline that it don't permit you to work on yourself because you're out here competing. And again, and that's when we talk about the social media influence, that you seeing images of other people, just got married, or they're on this cruise, or
Ooh,
they're at this, at this big event together, and you're like, huh, I don't have nothing going on. Like I gotta pick up the pace. I gotta do something, whatever. I want to be able to do. I want to be able to be doing the things that my friends are doing or my relatives are doing. So some people, that's where they, don't connect the dots at, because they're trying to compete with that timeline, and they're like, well, I'm 44 years old, and man, I don't have as near as much as my sister has or whoever has, and they're competing against that timeline, the
And
proverbial
that's
timeline.
unrealistic and it's unbalanced. And because healthy relationships and relationships, period, don't look the same for everyone. Since
Right.
people have different needs, I have different needs. I don't need a man to financially take care of me. I don't need a man to stroke my ego. Everyone needs is different, and your specific needs around communication, sex, affection, space, having your own private space, shared hobbies, values, so on, change throughout life. And so relationships that worked when your 20s are not going to be the same relationships that you're looking at in your 40s and your 50s. It's not the
true.
same thing. You're involved, you're
That is
different.
true.
What I
That
look
is
for
true.
in my 20s is not what I'm looking for right now in my 50s. I got too many years behind me versus ahead of me. So I ain't looking for nobody to take me horseback riding. I'm too old, the bones break, they ain't gonna mend the same. Okay? So you can't
Anetta,
do that with me.
so you trying to tell me you in Texas you don't know how to ride a horse?
I mean, I'm right.
Huh?
I'm not gonna answer that. So
Lord have mercy.
anyway,
But you know what? You know what? And to add to that, I love her. I love her last statement. But to add to that, that's why there's the divorce rate is so high today, and a lot of women are leaving their relationships, and a lot of people are just leaving their relationships
but
after how
can I
many
tell
years
you
of
why?
marriage?
I do a lot of couple relationship counseling. I'm gonna tell you why people leave in their relationships, because they are so stuck on social media.
There it is.
We would not be honest if we just be honest. Oh my God. People need to be honest with themselves and the reality of their relationship. People are breaking up and getting divorces and breaking up longevity relationships because they social media driven. That's why
Mm,
I say to people, don't post your relationship on social media, because now
hello.
you have exposed your relationship for ridicule, for
There it
picking,
is.
for dissecting, and
There it is.
everything else. I
Been
get
saying
it
this
if
for
you
years.
husband and wife.
For
If
real.
you don't I say that, David? If you
Yeah.
husband and wife, get it in, post, black love, come on. But
There it
also
is.
make sure that your marriage is bulletproof when you post it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because the thing is, when you start posting on social media, you're looking for the likes and the loves from other people. You start to veer off from looking from that like and love to the person that you're supposed to be connected to.
Well, let me ask you this question, Anetta. Since we're going in that direction, how does an individual or a group, or I shouldn't say a group, how does an individual or a couple battle the perception that they're trying to hide something when they don't post about themselves on social media in that regard?
Because this is
Good
my thing.
question.
It's
Good
not a
question.
factor of trying to hide something. If your relationship is based on him posting you and you posting him, it's toxic. I'm gonna tell you right out the gate. If your relationship is based on him posting and letting people know y'all together, it's toxic. You get more views by people seeing y'all out at the comedy show and live bands and out to a restaurant versus on the social media. Social media is entertainment. If you that gun ho and that hyped up to have your relationship in the bracket of entertainment, there is something inside of you that desires attention, and you need to work on that as an individual. Okay? As an individual, you need to work on that. Your relationship, when my relationship becomes solidified, y'all better believe y'all not gonna know. How y'all gonna know?
That's all I'm
You
saying.
know how y'all gonna know? Y'all gonna see a picture and be like, she looks stunning in that wedding dress. That's how you gonna know. Because at that
There it
point,
is.
I am blasting it like I'm killing this wedding dress. Okay? But I'm not gonna sit here and post me and my honey so people can be like, oh, that's who she dating. Because men do it just like women do it. That's who she dating. Oh, I could get that. Or I could have had that. You don't need any of that. And when you get hung up on the factors, that's why I tell people all the time, so what do you want? You want likes? Or you want interest? Or you want intrigueness? Which one do you want? Because likes fade. Because people will like you today and hate you tomorrow.
Yep.
Interest withers off. Because there'll be interest 1 second and not interested the second. Intrigueness is a growing desire. When I'm intrigued about something, every day I'm looking for an opportunity to find out what's that mysterious thing that's intriguing me. What's that thing that got me going? What's that thing that got me up at night? What's that thing that make me think about you while I'm at work? What's that thing that when I hear your voice on the phone, I get little butterflies in my stomach? What's that thing? That's that intrigueness that keeps me flowing, keeps me going, that I want to know what you doing, how you feeling, what you eat, what you thinking about, how you smell today, why you smiling like that. That's that intrigueness. But sometimes people get caught up on the interest and they forget, if I'm not intrigued by you, then my interest will not keep me motivated to know who you are.
And and it's funny. And people they deride me when I say it. They don't understand why I say it. This is why I sign NDAs. Keep your business. My profile for Facebook has been open for the last decade when I decided to run for city council in Niagara Falls in 2011. You can go back through all my pictures and all my posts. The one thing you will never find is me talking about somebody I spent time intimately with, whether it was sexual or we are out of town, whatever the case is. And I assure you that over the last decade, I've been to plenty of places with plenty of women, and you would never know. If you want some business, you got to learn how to keep it your business. Too many people, it's like Anetta saying, too many people do not understand the importance of privacy. This is why when we were brought up, we were told that what happens in this house stays in this house.
But I'm gonna tell you, as dealing with therapy counseling, that's not a good model. What happens?
I'm speaking specifically in terms of intimate relationships, though.
Usually creates damaged children that become damaged adults.
Hold on.
What happens in the house is hidden in the house, and now you have hidden emotions. You have hidden traumas. So I'm a firm believer that motto, what happens in the house stays in the house.
I think he's referring to the relationship between
just specifically relationships between adults.
But that's not even, I think for children, this is what I'm saying. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. I think for children, they need to see mom and dad kissing, hugging. They need to see the outpour of a relationship.
He's talking about dating.
Oh, okay. Dating.
Yeah, I'm speaking specifically of dating, though, because it's like you're saying, and that too many people, they want to follow what the Hollywood types are doing, not realizing that Hollywood types, and it's just what I was saying about Jackie earlier, they're insulated.
Yeah.
So they don't get the blowback from average Americans that Americans do. Because if I run around and I get 3 people pregnant at the same time, I'm not gonna be looked at like Nick Cannon.
Well, it's so crazy because when you talk about Nick Cannon and you
Nick
talk
Cannon.
about Haley Berry and you talk about Steve Harvey's daughter and all that. Now it's crazy because in the streets where I grew up back in the day, chick like Steve Harvey's daughter would be considered just a little hoe. You a hoe. You a
Right.
scumbag. Okay.
Right.
But because she's a celebrity, then she's like, oh, that girl be ranking it up. She be getting that bag. She be getting that one with the
Mhm.
money. No, she is just a high class slut bag. Let's just keep it 100. Okay? Let's keep it 100. Let's just keep it as my grandmother used to say.
Girl,
You
I gotta
lay
talk to
down
you off the air.
with-
I'm
you lay
loving
down
you.
with a wet butt.
You
You
see,
get a wet butt.
Shoot.
That's just it. Okay?
Yeah, her gotta touch
but see, the
space.
thing is that's what drive people is money. Like right now, if we were sitting on big money, this shit would be mad people following or watching it, whatever. Money drives a lot of things in a lot of people's minds. So that's all they see. That's all they think about. They don't look at like, oh man, that's kind of toxic, whatever, what's going on. But because all they see is the money, they say, hey, I can live like that. And that's unfortunate that a lot of people don't have basic morals and values anymore.
Mhm.
Principles. They don't have it.
Ron Wills would call her an acculturated prostitute. Shout out to the field marshal,
I
and that's
can.
another gentleman that also writes a lot of books too. So if you want to look up Ron Wills, he's online. He also has a channel that's dedicated for women. So I would encourage the women that are
Put
listening
it in the chat. Put it in the
to
chat so we can
to
go
to
back and find that.
to
So I
yeah.
have a question for y'all. This is such a good topic. I love stuff like this, David. You know I do. So I have a question for y'all. Why do people settle and they know that it's going to alter their happiness?
Because of their low self-worth.
Or
I
being
believe that,
uncomfortable.
well, I think a lot of people go into relationships that they settle for because they are not doing much with their own self. If your self-worth is dropped to a degree where you just it's whatever what everybody do, you're just going to go along with because that person may be able to support you, that person may be able to help you in whatever way. You drop down to that, and you have no drive to do for you, then the settling is a mindset from whatever trauma that caused that person to lose their self worth, and they felt like, yo, I'm not getting no further than this in life. So I don't see nothing happening for me. And then they just walk in that. And that's also a spirit too. I think when people walk around with low self worth and not deal with that or not take care of that, then it turns into many different things over time. You become this person who just become used by others, or just become a flunky, so to speak, or a gopher, because you just want to be okay. You just want to be all right with whoever is going to accept you and treat you all any kind of way. No. Mm.
So we have a couple comments I want to read. One of the things Kimberly Thomas said not true. So could you elaborate, Kimberly, on what was not true? And Swanda said everyone's level of settling is different, and that's true too. That it's about, I guess, tolerance. The tolerance level that you may have on what you're going to settle for and what you're not going to settle for, and that may depend on the partner that you're with. That you, again, one of the things is you
Well,
have
it's
to.
not always. It's not always. People don't always settle for because of self-worth, less self-worth. Um, do I think that sometimes that plays a contributing part? Yes. Sometimes people settle because they feel like, you know what, that's not, he got 5 things going for him. And there's 2 little things that drive me insane. It's not big enough to make me be like, oh God, I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people settle in that aspect. And then you do have people that settle because you got to keep in mind when dating, there's 3 categories in dating. And this guy told me that lives here. that him and I have been talking for a few months, and he said to me, he said, "What category do you think you are in? Are you a desperate woman to be in a relationship? Are you a woman who is comfortable with being by herself? Or are you a woman who can settle with anything and be okay with it?" Okay. He said, those are 3 categories of women that typically float around here. What category do you think you're in? And I immediately was like, shoot, I'm good with me. I said, what do you view me as? And he was like, I think you're comfortable with you as well. But those who are comfortable with them, you make yourself that option to say, you know what? I'm not going to be your option. Either I'm going to be the solidified person you need, or you can just keep it moving. So I think sometimes women and men settle because they just don't have to fight in them no more. They don't have to, I just don't have to fight to just be like, okay, I'm a date, I'm a do. They just don't have it. And then you got to think about the dating pool sucks. It sucks like real urine. It's not like you got a whole lot of options and choices out here. You know what I'm saying? Somebody said to me, oh, well, you in Texas now, you should got the Southern men, you got a better option. I said, girl, boo bye. They slow here, but they got the same game. They just slow about doing it.
Excuse my language, the fuck? Like, like that was the hotbed of dating, Texas.
But I'm just saying, people think that just because you change location, that you're going to get what you want. No, it's an inner thing. It's you. If you haven't solidified who you are as an individual, if you haven't reconciled what you desire and what you want, then you're going to have a hard time dating. And I think sometimes people don't know what they want. They walk in relationships with these unexpected, unrealistic expectations and goals because you absolutely don't know what you want. All you know you want is these superficial things. He got to have money. She got to have money. She got to have good credit. She got to have this. She got to have that. No, people don't walk in solidification of self-love, self-care, and self-gratifications of oneself. No, they don't. They battle. Why do you think people run after things that's not good for them? Because they battle within themselves what they're worthy of having.
Yeah.
Y'all got a lot of stuff cooking, man. Y'all got a lot of stuff cooking on the grill. A lot.
Yeah, and you know what? And this is what when I talked about the buffet, this is exactly what I was talking about. Do you as an adult have the ability and the willingness to simplify what it is that you want? Because all of us are not going to be able to command what it is that we think we want. Because simply put, we haven't sat down and self-assessed what we need. There's needs and there's wants. What do you need in order to, quote unquote, be in a relationship? And if you don't want to be in a relationship, are you going to be upfront with that? This is why I was talking about the 100 questions. People, they say what they want to. they say what they want to about it, but it's a way to simplify the BS that you are going to encounter. And it also helps to keep the individual asking the questions regimented. Because if I know what I want, then automatically I know what I don't want. So case in point, if I ask an individual what their favorite drink of alcohol is, and I'm a non-drinker, people will say, well, why the hell do you care what somebody's favorite drink of alcohol is? You're a non-drinker. Exactly. I'm trying to find out if this individual drinks at all. Not what they really want. People, and this is something I'm going to write about, it's not necessarily the information that you want. You want an honest answer to the question. And the moment you don't get an honest answer to the question, you're going to realize that this is probably a person that you're not going to want to deal with because they're not being forthright. If you are centered in honesty, the last thing you want to deal with is the person who's going to be dishonest about anything. It doesn't matter how trivial it is, because if they lie about something trivial, you know they'll lie about something major. So when asking questions, you're doing it to get information. and you're doing it to also see if they're going to be honest. It's just like when we were at the spot in Buffalo. Now I always forget about that, the name of the place. And I asked about the abortion question, and people flew into a rage. I wasn't doing it to soil women. I was doing it to see if women were going to be honest about answering the question. And if a woman tells me that she's uncomfortable answering the question, she's being honest. That's what I'm looking for. The number of abortions doesn't matter to me because I'm not having kids. So if you're barren, that's fine by me. But a lot of people, is just like you were saying earlier, that people don't manage their triggers. So if you don't manage their triggers, and I know that's a trigger for you, and I want to be with you, I'm going to understand. I'm going to say, hey, I know there's certain things that triggers her. I know if I do tread that way, that I'm going to have to tread lightly. I'm going to have to find a way to be able to bring up a topic that's sensitive to her so we can have a discussion about it without her either being triggered by it or with her being able to step through those triggers so she can get to the end of it. And then she realized that it's not as bad as she thought it was. Because often we tend to internalize a lot of things. And the person next to me doesn't have a clue of why it is that I have the consternation about a particular topic. All they know is I do. And for all they know, I'm a loose cannon. When they don't know, I could have been assaulted earlier. I'm not assaulted. I'm going to speak as if I'm a female. I could have been in a situation where I was sexually molested and impregnated by somebody and I had to get an abortion, which is one of the things that was brought up. So I'm only asking those questions to see what lies beneath. Because the moment we start to think that everything's fine in a relationship, and then we start pulling back the layers, all of a sudden we find minefields in places that we never thought they were.
See,
Go ahead, Dave.
let me say this. When you talk about fire triggers and all that stuff, and I understand that it's a science to it, but after a while, like it's like walking on eggshells. If you like, oh, I can't say this, I can't do this. If I do this, I can't do that. It's like you dealing with somebody that should be on a damn psych ward or something because their emotional intelligence or their coping mechanisms is off. Who the hell want to live like that? Who the hell want to live like that? You got to tiptoe around everything that you say because this person's gonna get upset or whatever the case is. Nah, I can't do that. Let me read Kimberly Thomas' comment. She said, people feed you a good line. And when you've been in a relationship for a year and they change and you give your all in it, you're doing your part and they give you excuses and they're out cheating on you.
I want to answer that one. Let's dissect that. Has the individual become so immersed in the other individual that they've forgotten that anyone at any time is capable of deception? Not to say that they will, but that they can. And often when we find situations such as yours, whether it's the male that's doing something like this or the female, they have overlooked something because they like that person enough. We're humans. We're fallible. We overlook things that are red flags to somebody else. And this is why a lot of people will run certain aspects of the relationship by other people because they're unsure that they may have missed something. And that's natural. This is why, learning who you are with becomes imperative because the longer you spend with them, the more you lower your shield, so to speak, if you will. So now that something happens, it jars you. It rocks you to your core, and all of a sudden you say, I can't believe an individual does this. Me, I'm on a different spectrum. I believe everybody, no matter who you are, should be selfish to a point in a relationship. In other words, you should be grounded in yourself for yourself. Because if I get in a relationship with you, I'm counting on you doing what's in your best interest. That way I know If I do something right, wrong, or indifferent, I know how you are going to behave because I'm expecting you to say, you know what, that doesn't work for me. If I'm in tune to you and I know that you are going to do things for you, I'm going to say, okay, this is something I'm willing to compromise on. I'm going to turn to you. I'm going to say, what works for you? It is at that point that you are supposed to say, this is what I want. Not I think, not I quote unquote feel. This is what I want. This is what's going to make me feel comfortable in this particular situation. Now, often we talk about communication on this platform all the time. When you are asked a direct question, even though women are feelings creatures first, you need to be direct with certain things. Don't make a man try and figure out what it is that you want because often he's going to be wrong because he's
Okay, so
process.
let me
Yeah,
say
go
this,
ahead.
Herb. I heard a
Yeah.
lot of things you said, and I have to co-sign, and I definitely have to speak on what Wanda is saying. I do not think it's ever healthy in a relationship or getting to know someone that a discussion about molestation and rape or abortion, those are trauma areas, and I
hmm
just don't think those are healthy dialogue and conversation areas, especially when you don't know a person healing level,
hmm
when you don't know if they have healed from that, you don't know if those are triggers, you don't know. There's so many layers to those conversations. And it sounds easy to say in a conversation to somebody who may have not dealt with on that level, but someone that has really been through those trauma areas is not going to be that welcoming to say to somebody that they've been talking to for 3 months, hey, I was molested by such and such, and I have a hard time allowing someone to touch me like that. That's not always a welcome introducing conversation. So we have to be realistic when we talk about dating because a lot of things is not going to be coming up. That's why people don't need to stop putting a time frame on dating. Every time you with somebody, you're involving, you're learning something different about you, you're learning them. And what Kim said, why do people change in a relationship? 99.9% they ain't changed. You just didn't pay attention to it.
Correct.
Okay. We're gonna be 100% like everybody know me and Kim know me. I'm 100% grand and honest about stuff. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. You know me, Herb. I ain't sugarcoating it. I ain't putting no cherry on top. I ain't putting no whipped cream with it. 99.9% of the time is not that he or she changed. It's just that you had on those rose-colored glasses
hmm
that didn't allow you to see the colored picture that you saw. And so he had those moments where he was selfish. He had those moments when he displayed he didn't really care. He had those moments when he displayed he had a wandering eye. It's just that sometimes we get so caught up in the allure of the relationship and that you don't look at those things as red flags. I just told somebody the other day, I said, pay attention to the red flag. Now, this somebody I'm dating. I'm telling him, if you say I got red flags, you better pay attention to them, brother. Pay attention to the red flags because I'm not showing them because, oh, I'm trying to hide them. I'm showing them because they're there. Pay attention to them. Pay attention to the red flags. Be aware of the red flags. Make sure you are paying so much attention to the red flags that you're not sitting there in silence like, oh, maybe they'll go away. Well, maybe if I
Yeah.
close my eyes, they'll go away. Well, maybe if I just love him or her, then they'll see and they go away. Listen, your love does not change a person. They have to change from the inside out. You
I just
cannot
want.
Exactly.
change
And I
a
want to add
person
too.
behind. And I want to add this, and then I'm gonna shut my mouth. You can. The biggest problem we cause to ourselves, we think because somebody cheating is our fault. It's something we did. No,
Yeah.
it's not
No,
Yeah.
always something you
Yeah.
did. Now,
exactly.
granted, sometimes people cheat because if you ladies, I'ma say it. If you deny him in the bed, what you expect for him to do? He gonna go get it elsewhere. Okay.
Mm,
But my thing is, most of the time, cheating don't happen because it's something you did or 9 out of 10 is not that. It's either that person that cheated is looking for something to fill a void within
mm-hmm.
themselves.
There it
It's
is.
not you. So the problem is we take that so personal. Oh, he cheated on me. If I would have took personal what my ex-husband did to me, I would never date a man. Do I think all men cheat? No. Do I think all women cheat? No. Do I think majority of men and women cheat? Yes. I can't sit here and say, oh, all men just cheat, not women. No, because women is the best cheaters.
Mm.
And the
That's
silence.
not the first time I've heard that either. So
Yo,
I just
I
want to
was told
clarify
that
I'm
something.
too.
just saying, keep it
I
real.
was
They
told that too,
are
and
the
I was
best
shocked out of my
cheaters.
wits. I was like, man, I don't even have the mindset for that stuff.
Let me
But
clarify
that's
something just for
hmm
a moment. When I made the statement about the sexual reference or the molestation, it wasn't to pull the information out. What I'm trying to do with the questions is to get people to be able to understand when an individual might be lying to them or they may be uncomfortable with a topic. That doesn't make them wrong. It just lets you know, okay, there's something about this particular topic that I may want to stay away from.
But
But
that's
keep
not
in
always
hold on,
valid. That's what I'm trying to
hold
tell
on,
you.
hold on,
That's
hold
not
on, hold on,
valid.
hold on. Just to keep in mind that if this relationship progresses, that's something that I might want to be able to circle back around to see where they are. And the reason why I say this is because when I was 24, I dated a woman that was significantly older. She confided in me that she had this situation that occurred when she was younger. She said it led her to behaving in a certain way, which I took at face value. She said she would never get married again. Some years later, down the line, come to find out she's married. So my question to myself was, what changed in her to allow her to progress to the point where she's married now? So when I say these things, it's not to castigate somebody or put them in a particular category. It's to find out what is the underlying reason that they haven't gotten to a certain point. You're better able to assess that than I am. I'm just simply saying it's something for someone to keep in mind.
And that's very valid, Cheryl. Most of the time, people are healing. I heard this guy one time that was trying to hit on me, and he said something. I wanted to slap him in the face and punch him in his throat when he said this. He said, "The best way for me to heal. I've been away from my wife now. We've been divorced for a year, and the best way for me to heal is get on top of somebody else." I
Mm.
said, "Get on top of somebody else with your
Yeah.
spirits." I
exactly.
said, "So you want to
Tell that.
insert
They do
your
say
old
that.
damaged
I've heard a woman say that
spirit
first.
on
That was the
top of
funny thing about
somebody
that one.
else because you walking around with your unhealed broken fragment butt and you want to
Exactly.
get your fragment unhealed broken butt on top of somebody else and they not even aware that you just all these fragments that can't even be put
Exactly.
together. What the
But I still
sad
want to
part is
add.
you a 500 piece puzzle that's missing 150 pieces and they don't
But
even
isn't
know where the pieces at. And
but
you
isn't
want
Love
that
somebody
the
her.
to deal with you? I'll be darned if somebody deal with you like that. You got a big old billboard on the top of your head say, "I'm fragments. Would you like me?"
Mm-hmm.
Come
Yeah.
on, give
but
me a
isn't
And I
that the
want
break.
microcosm of society? That people walking around with these fragments and pieces that ain't put together, and
correct.
you jump into it. So it's like a game of Russian roulette. Like
But
you never know.
but I wanted to also add in regards to the young lady in regards to the guy going off and cheating. A lot of times I find that when people come together and they come together before they actually get a chance to know each other, like I'm talking about getting together physically, like sexually. Sex before marriage. Okay, I'm the thing with sex before marriage is a sin. I stand on it. But even though there's like a period of time that I believe that people should wait, even if they're going to have sex, I believe there was a thing called a 90-day rule. I believe it should be
Stop.
about a good.
Stop.
Oh, you said stop. But see, here's the thing with that. I do believe that that is a good thing. When people get to know each other, the time you take not having sex, but having conversation and real communication, open communication, you'll find that by the time you get to that 90 days, you will actually know the substance or almost some of the substance of a person. So my thing is, if you're going in it to say, well, hey, I'm gonna get some of this and just see if we compatible. I believe this is just me, y'all. I believe that when God puts a person in your life, even if they may not come exactly the package, but they fit everything else, I believe that we should trust that and go with that, right?
Look,
And then, hmm,
no, let me just say this. So I understand what you're saying about the 90-day thing, but again, we don't put ourselves in positions to get to know each other.
Hmm.
Going out to the buffet or the jumbo wing spot, and you're eating and all that stuff may not produce the
I
conversation you
got it.
look for. So you have to put yourself in situations that we're talking or whatever the case is. And we talked about this years ago, Herb, about going to the movies and all that stuff.
Hmm.
You ain't saying excuse my language, you ain't saying shit to each other at the movies. You just sitting there or whatever the case is, and then eventually you drive. How was the movie? Oh, it was pretty good. Oh, this part. Then you go home. You ain't learned nothing about each other.
But that's the problem,
Yeah, yeah, that is the
communication.
problem.
And my thing is, people choose not to speak, especially once it gets intimate. There's no communication, and if one side or the other don't ask the questions that need to be asked, then you're going to come across the issues. If I don't, for me, if I'm not comfortable, first of all, around a person, it's no more, it's no conversation. And that just comes from discernment. I'll ask the right questions. And once these people answer me, regardless of if they're trying to hide a thing or not, they can't hide it. And once I hear the answer, it tells me whether I want to even have any more conversation. People
And
just take on things because at first glance, oh, they may be cute and they may have got all this stuff going on, and they feel like, ooh, let me try a thing and see what's up. But once they see that that person has standards, morals, values, they want to back up because they realize, oh, that's not what I'm gonna play with. She won't let that happen.
I will tell you, gentlemen, if you don't listen or believe anything else I say or I have said ever, believe this. Pretty hides a lot of damage.
Mm,
I heard a woman say this, and I really didn't know how to respond until I actually processed it. She said, the more attractive a young woman is, there's a higher, and I don't know if this is true or not, you can verify this if you can. She said, the more likely it is that she's probably been the victim of some type of trauma
mm-hmm,
in regards to sexual trauma because the
mm-hmm.
attractive women are always the target. I don't know if that was true, but it was
That's
something
not
that
true.
like I said, I don't know if it's true, but it was something that I have always kept in mind.
Because trauma
You,
doesn't have a look. Okay.
well, I'm not
Well,
necessarily speaking in terms of a look. I'm just saying in terms of being a target by men.
exactly, and you're right on that. You're right on that. You're right on that. I'm going to give y'all facts right now. There is several people that I know personally. When you and I don't consider myself. I'm, and this comes from my own trauma. I never considered myself beautiful in any way, shape, or form. Never did. Just from my own traumas in the past. As I worked on me and I saw me, I realized what I went through was not because I was just a nothing, right? I started feeling like nothing behind all of that. But even people related to me and people who I know, when I say I know personally, because they're beautiful with that nice shape, they've gone out to clubs, they've gone out to different places. Next thing you know, their drink was spiked. Next thing you know, they're gang
Hmm.
raped. Next thing you
Hmm.
know, and I'm telling you facts. And this is facts. And there's no such, what he said is so correct. And even ooh, I almost gave up something, but even someone that's close to me and my one of my relatives, She was telling me, oh, having all this body, it's unwanted attention. And I'm like, sometimes I look at her, I'm like, oh, I wish I had all that you got going on. She was like, mm-mm. Even though I know that the I'm not ugly, but I know that enough. I've been targeted. When I say enough, and let's take it back spiritually. When things are on people, they are a target for certain things. They may not even be cute, but I'll tell you this: from 4 years old, from a pastor trying to molest, not trying, molested
Mm.
me from four, that kept on. And it was like in Jamaica, you got people who is related to your family, grown people, feel like they got to be handsy. Oh, you're such a pretty girl. Handsy. I got to run up onto my family's house just to hide from grown people. Handsy. Come to this country. Same thing. In a church. System pastor. Handsy. Oh, you're so cute. You're so beautiful. Handsy. Why am I got why do I have to be a target? I don't even see myself as such. You know what I'm saying? Because they done took all of that away as a child. They stripped me of everything, self-worth, all of that. And the thing is, that happens. That happens. And I have too many. Listen, as I'm a part of different organizations, and I mentor young girls, and I do different things because I try to protect these young girls who want to be cute out here, who want to be acting like they got it all like that, and they're the same subject of rape. They're the same subject of all this crap in the schools because what they feel like, I'm gonna be cute, I'm gonna be this, I'm gonna be that, but you're setting yourself up, and that's reality. And I
let me
know it
let,
happens in different ways because people can just be in an environment where they were maybe in foster care, whatever, whatever, and people are just evil out
That's
here. But I'm
let me
just saying. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, let me say this, and we've talked about this before. When someone, an adult, overemphasize how much a kid looks, oh, he's
Hmm.
gonna be he oh, he's so handsome, oh, when he get older, or man,
Mm-hmm.
she's cute and all that, those is
Mm-hmm.
red flags, whatever.
Halo.
Ain't nobody ain't nobody checking for no kid like that.
Hmm.
So for a grown ass person to be talking about some
yeah.
10, 12 year old, talking about she gonna be fine when she get older, or oh, he's so cute, that's my little boyfriend,
Mm,
sooner or later she's plotting, and that could be your best
mm-hmm.
friend. That could be
Mm-hmm.
your best friend. Someone sitting there looking at your son, or whatever the case is. Pay attention to people words, and things that they say, because it manifests.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
So true.
So
So so.
let's talk about Naomi's comment. Naomi, the marketer, she said you can establish a real foundation by waiting to have sex.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
so I'll say this: that comment is a 50-50 for me. The
Mm.
reason why I say it's a 50-50, one is everyone knows that I love Jesus and Jesus is the main focus of my life. Okay, everybody know that. But I also want to say this: when you start basing the relationship off of sex, or even withholding sex to penetrate the relationship, a sexual relationship, you've already established a toxic connection. Okay. We are sexual creatures by nature. That's who we are. We are supposed to be sexually attracted to each other. We're supposed to be. So when I see women say, "Oh, well, I can hold myself and I don't need no man to I got toys to do that." Girl, bye boo.
Exactly. Girl,
Girl, you
bye. I don't
feed
want
that story
nothing
to
rubber
somebody
hard or
else
nothing on
because
human. Hell.
let's sit in this corner and
If it
have a
don't come
real
with a breath and
adult.
a heartbeat, I don't want it. Okay, I'm
Right.
sorry.
Let's have a real adult conversation,
Shoot.
sweetie.
Anybody got
You
time for
ain't,
that?
I mean, yes, the rose is a great toy. It's an awesome thing. But
I
you ain't
heard
about to
about that,
sit
but I don't
here.
want nothing that's gonna make me feel better than a man would. Because once you get caught up
Exactly.
into something
It's
else,
not going to
you gonna be
stimulate
stuck
men.
trying to get that feeling from a man when you can't get it from a man. So I don't want nothing artificial making me feel away. okay, then the man got to compete with that. Ain't got that to do. That's why it's been what, almost
Woo,
9 years for me. It's been 9 years for me, and I'm gonna wait for that man to make it tingle. Cause outside of that,
I'm
I ain't
just
playing with
saying,
nothing
I
else.
just
Okay.
think it's real
Hello, nurse.
crazy when people say that they're basing, when you basing a relationship off of sex. And Wanda, I do agree with you. I disagree with, ladies being cute and attractive, and that's why certain things happen to them. I don't agree with that. With my heavy, 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 heavy psychology and behavioral health background, I don't agree with that. That's not typically what happens when women are insulted sexually and emotionally, stuff like that. That's not what happened.
Are
Based
you
on my look,
following the human trafficking stuff that's going on then?
I do. Yeah, we're very heavy with it. We're very
Okay.
heavy. And Texas is a very high place for human trafficking.
Yeah,
Just so you would know.
because
The
it's sitting on the
statistics,
southern border. Absolutely.
right. The
Exactly. And
statistics
that's
here
why I
are
was bringing
very,
that up.
very, very high. So we're
Mm-hmm.
constantly doing classes, constantly doing courses, constantly. So that's not true. Believe it or not, it is more young ladies that have disabilities that are being trafficked.
And
Okay.
you know what? To what you're
So
saying,
you can't
I
really say that it's, I cringe when I hear
I can
people
see
say
that. I can see
certain
that.
things, because you really have to have, you really, really, really have to study that stuff, and you really, really have to look at it. Like, we think just because certain things happen in our family, that's the be all end all. The picture, like I say to Herb all the time about statistics, don't tell me about no statistics when you only had 150 people from the college do a census.
That's what's
You
up.
got to give me more numbers than that for me
For
to
real.
be the statistics. So I just want us to be conscious about, the whole dating and loving and vulnerability and sexual predators and all that stuff. When we start blending all of that together, we're blending toxicity together with healthy boundaries, and we're not getting the full effect that we desire to get in dating. So what happens is you have to sit with yourself and say, self, what am I expecting in this dating? Self, what am I looking for from this man? Self, what am I looking for from this woman? Because the key element of all of this, if you're looking for someone to solidify your happiness, you've already failed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because your happiness has to be within you. It has to be something that's inside of you. And when that person comes and connects with you, they're enhancing what's already there. Okay. And I think that's the part we miss with relationships. It's also the part we miss, like I said earlier, about cheating. Cheating does not happen because something you did. Cheating happened because that individual had a lack or a void that they did not deal with, and they tried to solidify it with somebody else. 9 out of 10, the person he or she cheated with, he don't even have feelings for. He or she actually loves you, but they tried to fill a void that they failed to communicate with you. So oftentimes I tell couples, when I'm counseling, listen, don't just throw in the towel. Try to figure out the deep root of why it occurred and why it happened, and help them get healing if you have the tenacity to do that. Because everyone does not have the tenacity to go through the storm with somebody.
Yeah,
You gotta know if you really
will.
want to weather the storm. Now, if it start raining and you start melting, that's not a storm you need to weather with somebody. If it starts snowing and you can't take the snow, that's not a storm you can weather with somebody. So know your capability and your capacity and be able to function in that area.
And we always talk about traveling the path of least resistance. So some people don't want to face that storm, so they're going to try to travel the path of least resistance, men or women.
Yeah, and just to circle back to what she was talking about with trafficking, absolutely. Being in security and also working in a hotel, that's classes that, at least training as best they can do, that they put us through. And to what she's saying, we had a situation a few months ago. Policy in New York State is that we don't check anybody in that's under 21 years of age for a variety of reasons. And one of the reasons she just alluded to. Now, there was a situation where we just had, not this last one, but the first one we had this winter season. Young man, 20 years of age, few months out from being 21. I didn't check him in because his ID said he was underage. Now, to cut out a lot of the story, Turns out that he was traveling with his girlfriend who was underage at 17. They checked him in later that day. My shift ends at 7 a.m. They checked him in later that day. Her parents were contacted. They came up from, and I'm not going to mention the state, they came up from somewhere south, took her daughter home. Now, he could have been charged federally because he brought a minor across state lines. Doesn't matter if they're dating. Doesn't matter if it's a Romeo Julia romance. I think that's or Romeo Julia romance, I believe they call it. This is one of the things that can fall under the guise of being trafficked. So people be aware that sometimes being trafficked doesn't always appear on his face to be trafficked. Sometimes it could be those type of situations where you have a runaway that's being taken away from her parents, even though it may not be against her will. That's still considered trafficking. So trafficking comes in a lot of different forms. To what Annetta said, people with special needs are the target because they can't speak up for themselves. So, and I don't want to get into this particular thing, but so you hear about passport bros going overseas and doing this and doing that with underage people. That to me is repulsive. And I don't even want to be associated with it. To talk about it makes me nauseous. But I have to acknowledge that that stuff does exist in the world. So if you come across some situations like this and you think there might be something going on, contact somebody. And don't say what is, just say what you think. Because you have to also balance the two things together. Because what you can see might be innocent. It might be an uncle taking somebody somewhere. It might be an in-law taking somebody somewhere, whatever the case is. But this stuff is real. And when we talk about this stuff, it's not to alarm you, but it is to get you to understand that we live in a world where people do a lot of foul stuff. And they don't care because they're amoral. Unfortunately, we have to share the world with amoral people. So when you look at these things, look at them sometimes in an isolated way. That way you don't think bad about everybody, because that's what happens with a lot of people when we get these situations. They find one situation and they want to lay everybody in that particular situation. And that's when you start to become too judgmental about everything that happens around you.
There's a couple comments in here. Swanda said 21 is the age of consent in New York State.
Actually, it's 17.
Yeah, I was going to say 21. That's a grown ass person. Romeo Juliet is 4 years difference. Naomi said, I didn't say I was a nun. Haha, I just like to know what I'm in bed with.
Well, ask her why didn't she find out before she went to bed with it? She should have found that out before she got into bed with it. That is the question. Why didn't you find out before you got into bed with it?
I've said this before, and people derided me when I said it. I said, if you really want to know what a man about, if he's about getting in your underwear, put it on the table the first time you see him and see how he reacts. Not what he says, but how he reacts. If he recoils, he's offended by it, because now you're testing him to see whether that's the only thing that he really wants. And I'm not here to gauge his actions as to whether they're wrong or right. Just what it is that you want to know about his intentions. Because some guys they're like Annetta said earlier, they're good at wearing that mask. But that mask only covers what they physically is showing you, not how they physically react. Because if I hit you with something, you're going to react a certain way. Same thing with a man when you ask him that question. Guaranteed.
But hold up, Herb. That would be required for a woman to give a man a test. And we would argue down to the bone that women don't give tests. They don't do tests. And we said, oh, women give tests. We give tests, but they argued it down. And not this panel, whatever. It was panels before.
Yeah.
We don't play them games. I'm a grown man. I mean, it's such and such. I'm gonna play it. But you give tests. Everybody give tests when you're in dating and you're getting to know someone. You're trying things out. You're gonna say, "Oh, I'm gonna put this out there to see how they handle it." Tests are always given.
And yeah, and when we talk about giving tests, it's matter of fact, let me reference the movie A Bronx Tale. When Sonny's speaking to the kid and he tells him, he said, "Hey, look, when you go pick this girl up, I'm gonna let you use my car." He said, "When you go pick this girl up, open her car door. Make sure your car door is locked. And walk around the back of the car, not the front, but the back of the car." And he said, if she doesn't reach over, and this is the day before power locks, and open that door for you, dump her. That's what he told her. Sure enough, he walks around the car door, looks in the back, and she reaches over and opens that door. He says yes. That's because he's gauging whether or not she's willing to lend of herself. I understand. Everybody is afraid of being used, abused, and discarded.
So
At some point in time, you're going to have to take a leap of faith. When I say that, I mean take that step out on a limb that the individual that you have selected to spend some time with is actually a righteous individual. Not because they've demonstrated the righteousness, but because you vetted this individual well enough that they've passed your test.
so
This is why I was talking about the 100 questions, because they're designed to get what you want, not what your neighbor wants, not what your brother wants, your aunt, your uncle, your father, your sister, what you want. Because
Send
what
me
you
those
need from
100
an
questions.
individual, what you need from an individual is different than what somebody else is going to need. Make
Mhm.
sure you get what you need, not what you want, but what you need. You said something, Jackie. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Send those 100 questions to me. I need to look those over.
What I'm trying to, the more questions I come up with, the more I start to break apart why I'm asking these questions. So in writing this, what I have to understand is why do I have a certain series of questions, and it's easy just to write the questions and put them out there with no information whatsoever. People are going to come back. Well, why should I ask this question? Well, why does this question matter? Or I don't need to know about this. It's not whether, like I said before, it's not about the answer that an individual gives. It's about the level of comfort with disclosing certain information. It's not, none of these are going to be wrong or right per se. What I want people to do is get accustomed to being your own detective. So those red flags that you see, like a CFL football game, you can say, okay, you know what? I gotta remember this. Or I'm gonna have to focus on this. Or why is this a problem? But this is because it's like I said, if sex for an individual is that big of an issue, then an individual before they get intimate should want to know why. Maybe they have performance anxiety. Maybe they feel inadequate. It can be a myriad of things. And I'm not saying you have to play psychologist to figure out why it is, but that's just something you should want to know about before you progress through that door. Think about it. You're not walking into a house that you know nothing about unless you go with somebody that knows. That's a human safety issue. Same thing with relationships. We are so casual about our mental well-being that we are willing to risk some things. And then when it doesn't work out, we have to withdraw and start the healing. And then we wonder why we take so long as people to mentally heal. It's because we don't take the steps and the precautions to protect ourselves mentally. I tell people all the time, there is nothing on this planet more important than my mental health. That's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I come home in this house, This is a fortress. Nothing gets in this house unless it meets my standard of approval. I don't care how beautiful she is. I don't care how great the body is. I don't care about none of that. The head game's off the chart. Whatever. She can't come in. Why? Because there's something about her that I don't like. And I've had people say this to me, yo, dude, but she fine. Okay, and it's not like I haven't been there before. And this is the one thing that we have to get across to the younger generation is that, and my old boys used to tell me, everything that look good to you ain't good for you. And the moment that, and this is to what, a little bit to what Naomi is saying, not to go against what you were saying, Annetta, you have to find the balance between the two. So you have to be able to find the balance between somebody you're sexually compatible with that you can move forward and the balance of waiting till you're sure of yourself that you're making a good decision about that sexual relations. Because there's a lot of people that'll give up themselves sexually, but mentally they're gonna close that off. I want to know you mentally before I get to know you physically.
Mentally, emotionally.
Yeah, because if something goes wrong, I want us to be able to sit down and talk about it. And if all we have is a physical relationship, then we can't talk about anything because there's no foundation.
Well, one of the things you had mentioned about each other using each other, and that was a few minutes ago. So, which leads me to segment 2. And I know y'all don't want to hear this, but segment 2 was about ways that women use men. Because we often talk about how men use women, but there's a counter reaction to that women use men a lot. And we're going to talk about it right now. And one of them, I'm gonna throw it out. Like I said, I'm gonna let the water boil and all that stuff, and then I'm go have me a nice cigarette. I'm joking. I will smoke. Can I go take a little break?
Okay.
Go ahead. So one other thing is we always talk about this free food thing, and I know women say I could pay for my own food. I could do this and I could do that. And I said in my promo before this thing, women will go out to eat with somebody knowing, see, the man, he taking you out. He thinking that it's going to be something further. He just think doing it out of the kind of his heart. Oh, it makes me feel good to see somebody eating good. They ate and I'm responsible for it. He's thinking that there's that silver bullet down the line. Could be sex or could be like, okay, I can get into her. And y'all thinking, like, I ain't cooked today. I'm just gonna go on out with Tyrone, with Melvin, and get this meal. And like I said in my promo, I ain't as a man.
But David, that's somebody who
hold up a minute. Let me get my part. Let me get my part in. Let me get my let me get my part in.
Get it out, because I guarantee you, if you call
she ready, baby girl, ready.
I'm gonna tell you now, I don't like dinner dates because it's a falsehood of a date. First of all, the waitress is coming in and she's interrupting. You don't have time to communicate and engage with each other because you got to order your drinks, you got to order your salad, you got to order your soup, you got to order your entree, and then she come over Annetta. 3 or 4 times asking, do you need anything else? No.
Annetta, I just wanted to make a point. Then I'm gonna disappear for a second, then come right back. I gotta take, you get older, you gotta take a bathroom break or whatever the case is. I just was gonna say that I don't give a damn who you is. If I'm not interested in you, I don't care if the woman said, I'll buy this, I'll buy you, we could go to this spot, buffet, 7-course meal. I'm not about to sit there and just get a free meal from you if I like, I can't do it. I can't stand this chick. I don't like her conversation. Ain't nothing about her makes me want to go out and eat with her. I'm not doing it. But y'all women, y'all do it. Y'all do it a lot. I'll be back. So go ahead, Herb. Hold me down.
I'm gonna tell you. We'll go. Did you want to respond to that before I get in?
Of course I want to respond.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, girl.
Do we have
Drop it,
women
girl.
out there that do want free meals? We do have women out there that want free meals, but those are miniature mindset women. I'm going to be honest with you. They're miniature mindset women. When you are confident in who you are, because I guarantee you, can't no man take care of Annetta Williams like Annetta Williams take care of Annetta Williams. Okay? He just ain't going to be able to do it because I know what I need and I have to teach you what I need.
Mhm.
So which means being the teacher, that means the instructor knows the material. Okay? So my thing is, I have to teach you and show you what I like. You have to teach me and show me what you like. So if somebody get all flawed up and happy because of a dinner date, girl, your mindset is very miniature and minute. It has to be more than that. I personally tell people in dating and relationships that it's not healthy to go on a date to get to know a person to a dinner date because it's
Right.
too many interruptions. 9 out of 10 people like to go to chain restaurants, which are much busier and louder restaurants with a lot of communication. You're not going to be able to be engaging. You're both going to send you a representative. You know you don't eat with the 2 forks on the table, the dinner fork and the salad fork. You know you don't. You eat with 1 fork. And then you want to sit here at this table and try to conduce to this type of behavior to how you eat. You know you pick the chicken up when you eat. So now you sending your representative, you're cutting the chicken, you're doing this. It's not a good thing. But when you go to a coffee spot, then you have to sit there and engage in adult normal communication. I'm watching your body language. I'm watching how you respond. I'm watching the interaction. I'm watching you watch people. I'm watching how you engage when we're in public and you're sitting and you're having coffee, maybe a pastry, maybe a cookie, and you're having conversation, getting to know the person. Go for a walk in the park. Go sit by the water and engage. Everything does not have to be a financial spin in order to go on a date. And I think sometimes people get it all mixed up and confused and think that what solidifies a date is somebody spending money. The best date I ever had is when a guy picked me up in his car and we drove and sat by the water. I sat in that car with him for 2.5 hours. I got home. I was like, he was all in my head. I was like, wait a minute, I think I can marry him. You know what I'm saying? But that's the best kind of date for me because it gave me the opportunity to engage on a different level.
So let me ask you a question then with that. Now, what happens? I'm thinking that prior to people going out, because before I can go out with somebody, I have to spend time on the phone getting to know that person. And if I'm going to leave myself vulnerable to a date scene when I'm not too comfortable about who this person is yet, I have to get to know this person prior to going somewhere with them. So what is the conversation that people are really not having before you go out somewhere? If these places are places where you think you can talk. You know what I'm saying? Because when you exchange phone numbers, you would think that before you guys even go somewhere, there's conversation. If I am not in conversation with a person to know who they are before I can or try to know even some parts of them, then dating is not going out on a date somewhere, even to just chat, is not going to give me what I need.
I do think that you have to have a lead up to an in-person. It has to be a lead up to an in-person.
Correct.
And when I say lead up, I'm stating it has to be some in-depth general interest and conversation had with that person. I remember, I'm going to give you a scenario of, I was talking to this guy. I met him. I'm good with dates. I remember dates. I remember the time I met you, what time it was, what I had on, and what you had on. That's me. I'm just like that. I ain't impulsive like that. So I met this guy April 12th, 2019. I met him at one of the hot spots in Buffalo. I had on a red dress, and I had just
those high heels.
It was hot. Shut up.
And some of that sweet perfume.
Be quiet.
It smells good on
walked into the place, we caught eye contact with each other. This guy was fine, and he was a retired fire captain for the city of Buffalo. So I'm like, okay. People was telling me, oh, he's interested in you. You know who he is. He's such and such, such and such. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And I had just got up through my divorce. So I was like, yeah, whatever. And it is what it is. And so he came, I ordered my food. He came up to me. I took a bite out my chicken, and I was like, and I just put the chicken down. He was paying so much attention to me. He walked up to me and said, "You not enjoying the chicken?" I was like, it's a little salty. He took my tray of food and was like, "It's okay. I know the cook back there really well. Let me have her redo your chicken." I said, "No, I don't really like my food redone. I'm going to pass on it. I'll probably just get a salad." He said, "Okay, we'll take care of that. Hold on. Let me go over here and do it." So he did it. He got my food, brought it back out to me. I was cool. No more engagement and conversation. I'm about to leave out the door. He walked over to me and go, "Really? You're going to leave? You're not going to? Let me see your phone for a second. I'm going to put my number in." I was like, put your number in. I may or may not call you. He called my phone. He called his phone on my phone. I paid no attention to it. Threw my phone in my purse. Late that night, he said, I get a text. "Hey, I hope you made it home safe." I looked at the message and was like, "What is this?" I was like, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm such and such that you seen as such and such. I called your number." I said, "Oh, that's a little stalking." And then we end up talking that night and hitting it off. Great conversation. We talked for 2.5 months before we went on our first date.
That's what's up.
Because I was like, I need to know, okay, if I really want to sit across the table and talk to you for a long period of time. For a long period of time, to me, is 30, 45 minutes. That's a long, because I can't get that back once I give it to you. And he took me to eat, and we was in the restaurant and closed it up because the conversation was so intense. But we also found out that as much as we were attracted to each other, we knew we wasn't meant for each other. That's why communication is very important.
Let me jump in here. Let me jump in here for one moment and ask you a very poignant question. Is this an individual that you think you can build other relations through?
Oh, now that's my homeboy. Oh my God. He texted
Stop right there. Stop right there, Netta. Stop right there. This is, I've said this to women before, and I'll reiterate. If you have reached the age of 40 to 45 and you don't have a male that can help you out in situations without asking you for something, you have failed in being a woman. And this is why. No, this is just coming from Herb's perspective. This is why.
But you know, Herb, I think your perspective is very clouded. So
of course, I'm Herb. It wouldn't be if I wasn't me. I have no bones about that.
I don't think you failed as a woman, because if you don't have a male perspective, then you could reverse.
No. A male friend.
A male friend, because then you could reverse that. If you don't have a female friend, did you fail as a man?
No, but men are driven by different things.
You know, I definitely am about to turn my head off on you. You gonna make that one-sided. So if a woman,
no, I'm not gonna make it one-sided. I'm gonna tell you why. Men are driven by different things. So if most men, I'm qualified as saying most men is rarely, while I use a qualifier, are driven by what they can get from a woman. It's only then that most men will settle down and have a relationship, a non-consensual sexual relationship with a woman. Women are different. And this is where we have to draw the distinction. And this is what we're talking about. A woman will use a man for something and not expect, I'm sorry, am I saying this the right way? A woman will use a man for something and not expect to have to give anything in return. That doesn't make her actions wrong. I will tell a woman, if a man is foolish enough to pay for you and take you on a date and he hasn't gotten anything up front, use his dumb ass. Use his dumb ass until it hurts.
Heard it?
And Wanda, I agree with you. Men will wait as a friend to see where you at. Because this person I'm talking about randomly out of the blue one day, since I moved here, had a conversation with me that we've never had. And I was like, ooh, okay, well, tell me how you really feel. And by then, with women, once we put you in a category, you can't just come out that category. And I say it all the time. Once I already put you in a category, or you my friend, you my homeboy, you my bro, you can't come out that category with me because I'm not that person where I can move. David, be quiet.
You already know what I'm about to say.
David,
Woo!
be quiet.
All right. I'm
But
gonna
it's
humble
just,
myself.
I don't move in that facet. Like, I'm a very emotional and intelligent driven person. So for me to catch that drive to in relationships, I have to be I'm a psychosexual. So you have to get in my head first. All that sexual stuff, you could blow my back out to my legs tremble. It don't mean nothing if you ain't in my head.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, and that's why I'm saying that. I was just thinking about this today as I was walking down to the corner store. I have at least half a dozen female friends, and I mean this sincerely. Some I've been intimate with, some I have not. They can call me for something,
Oh boy, Herb.
and as long as I have it and it doesn't put me out financially, they are welcome to it because we have established that rapport. A lot of men don't think that far in advance when it comes to certain things. It's kind of like our health. I got an ache, can I live with it? I'll get to it later. That something's wrong, I'll get to it later. This is why wives are always hounding their husbands. Go get your checkup. Go get your prostate checked. Go get your blood work done. Because that's in our nature, is just continually to put things off. Unless it's a financial issue, then we'll address it. Or unless there's something wrong with the car, then we'll address it. We don't think like women do. And it's not until we get somebody that kind of realigns our thought process that we start to come into a certain level of maturity. For a lot of men who aren't married, they never get there. They're always targeting women for what they can get, failing to realize that if you give to the right woman, she's coming back. And she's not necessarily always coming back to get something. She might come and give you something one day. I say this because I've had it happen. I'm not going to disclose who it is, but I've had it happen. I've had women say, hey, you know what? I remember you did this for me. Here you go. I didn't ask for that. You didn't have to ask for that. We have to learn as men the art of reciprocation. This is why I said, if that man is foolish enough to continue to pay for your dates, and he hasn't said anything up front about his expectations or whatever it is, be it that his expectations are unreal, unreasonable, then use him. He's playing the fool. Use him until he learns a lesson. Use him until he establishes a boundary and he's able to communicate up front what his expectations are, what he wants, what he's not going to stand for. Me personally, I don't have a problem with taking a woman out on a date. I don't have a problem footing the bill. But that's how I am because I screen women very well. So you never going to hear me. Remember when I talked about the Billy Joel concert, David? And the money I spent on the tickets, but I didn't end up going? That individual that I had planned on taking wasn't going to have to pay a thing. The only thing that was going to happen was she was going to have to pick me up because obviously I don't have a car. But it was $700 tickets. We were sitting in good seats. She didn't have to pay a thing. We didn't have to have sex. I enjoyed her company enough over the years that was something she earned as far as I was willing to give her.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Mhm. Go ahead, Les.
You said she earned.
Yes.
You said she
Girl,
earned. She
I
earned
know where he's
something.
coming from. I'm about to help you because I know where he's coming from. But go ahead.
She earned something. She
hmm
earned to pick you up in her car to go on a date.
No, 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 no. See, this is where the selective hearing hurts you women. I said, I pay. Oh, I said it. I
Oh,
said it. I said it.
her.
I said it again.
No,
This is
Hold,
where the
no, no, no,
selective
hold.
no,
hearing.
I
no,
said
no.
I
You
know
This
where
is
cannot
you
go.
coming
this is
from.
You
That
go on
this
that.
is
wait,
this
I had
this.
your back for a second because I understand your
Don't
thought
ever
process.
go. Don't
Hold
do the
on. Hold on.
selective.
Hold on. Hold
No,
on.
no, don't do the selective hearing. You women, don't do that.
Uh
Okay.
huh,
I said it
girl.
I
because
will
because
say this.
what
I
did you choose to
dissect what
focus
you
on?
say. I dissect what you say. I
What did you
take
choose to
in.
focus on though?
I take in what I want to take in for
And that's exactly
information.
my point.
So listen to what I'm saying. And the reason why, because I'm an individual. So
That's
I
fine.
am going to make it clear that what you state is not what I'm receiving, and you can clear it up for me. But I'm
I don't
telling
need
you what
to.
my perception. That's fine. You don't, because I promise you, I wouldn't date nobody like you. But
That's
I'm just
fine.
saying, my perception is going to be my perception. But one thing I hate to hear somebody say with anybody on a level of earning something. Like for me, I'm just telling you for me, I don't look for a man to have material things, but there is a plus to this factor of dating me. We not gonna ride a bike together. We ain't catching a bus together. And I'm not picking you up because I'm too old to be in a builder bear process. I ain't in that process to build no man and tailor him to what he think he should be versus what I want him to be.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Like I was saying before you jumped in there, the only thing she had to do was come pick me up. She didn't have to. She didn't have to have sex with me. She didn't have to pay for a ticket. Nothing else. The reason why I say she earned that is because she didn't have a problem with doing that. See, this is what I talk when I talk about the 100 questions. These are the things that I ask, so I know and understand the individual that I'm dealing with and their comfort level with me. I don't own a car because I choose not to own a car. It's a financial trap. You look at, matter of fact, there's a famous picture of Phil Jackson on the New York subway, not driving. Now, the reasons why he don't drive are several, but my point is, if that is your level of demarcation for dealing with a guy, then I don't want to date you either. See, that door swings both ways. See, I'm not beholden to what a woman thinks about me. I think highly enough of myself that I can put it out there to women that I don't have a car and set up my stipulations for going on a date. See, most men can't do that because they lack the confidence to do that because they're pushed around by women who think they can command something that they don't have to offer. I don't have to offer shit to anyone.
Herb
Let's
said
make
And
that
and
clear.
I'll
you're
and, and
getting
I'll yeah, I'll
something.
Let's
interject
make that
because
clear, okay? I'm a
because
man because I'm a man because I'm a man. I stand up and I put it out there. This is what I
right.
am. This is what I bring to the table. If that's not what you want, you know where to
And I
go.
and Herb, like I stated, I understood where you were coming from, and I do understand you as a person because some of your statements, I mean, you're being yourself, you're being transparent with how you feel about certain things. And I don't have a problem with picking a man up. I don't have a problem with spending time with someone who wants to spend time with me, especially if it's just we're hanging out and doing things like that. I don't look at stuff as a bill of bear unless we're having a specific relationship direction. But if it's someone that I've known over time, just like Herb was saying, it wasn't a relationship, but it was someone he has, like he said, he has 5 or 6 people in his life who he can hang out with in that form. So I get that direction, but I also wouldn't want to choose someone by if they have a vehicle or not, or if they have this, because one thing I do know, the same material things that we get, it can disappear in a day. And it doesn't matter what happens in this life. We can have as many degrees as a thermometer. We may have all of this stuff going for us, but anything can happen in life that takes a lot of things from us. And then what? Who do we have? People who either truly love us for who we are and not what we got, or are we going to just deal with the rejection of having nobody there because all your stuff is gone too? I will never stand on, oh, Can't no man do nothing for me. I can do better for myself. That's not our position as women of God. People of God, we need to know our position and how God made us to have a position. You can have all degrees, you can have all of the clout, everybody can have whatever. But it, there is a place where us women supposed to be submissive women, even though we got it going on in boss women, we have to be in a place that God requires us to be as women. Now, as far as it,
Okay, my
I'm
sister,
concerned.
let me break this down though. I just want to break this down because I hear what you're saying, and I'm gonna say this in the biblical stance, in the biblical stance, in the biblical in scripture, in the Bible, it stated that women were providing. Proverbs 31, the
Exactly, I was going to say
virtuous
it with you, but
Proverbs 31, the virtuous woman. She was out there tilling into the ground, cooking the food, keeping the house and everything.
mm-hmm.
So we are responsible to have things. We are responsible to have that. And now let's take it a little further when we go over and we think about Adam and Eve. Adam did not get Eve until everything was established.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. That right
Mm-hmm.
there is just something just to lay on. Eve
Eh,
did not come from his rib until God said, "It is all done, and you need
correct.
to help me." So, my
Correct.
thing is, if there's a biblical stance we're going to go by, we can't pick and choose which part of the Bible we're going to go on. We can't pick and choose which type of the scripture. So, my backings is always this: he has to be able to provide in every aspect, spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally, in every aspect. He has to be able. That's the head, that's the lead, that's a man's role. I'm real strategic about men being in their position and women
Okay,
being
but
in
if
their
if
position
he's
and role.
going to work, providing, doing all this stuff, and don't have a vehicle, we're gonna throw that person under the bus. My
I'm
thing
not
is,
saying I'm throwing them up under the bus, but my thing is about that is that if there is avenues and there is situations that somebody doesn't have a car, okay, I get it. There are. But there's also some things that would require for you to ask deeper questions. Why don't you have a car? Why don't you drive? And I don't want this to make this seem like this is about a car, but there are some triggering questions we need to ask. There are some things that we definitely need to figure out. We have to
well,
understand what happens in this process is roles begin to reverse. And people don't want to hear this, but the reality of it is roles reverse, and now men being women and women being men. You are the head of the household. You
well,
are
it's
to
the truth
provide.
because women are taking care of
Period.
more men than men are
And the
taking care of
reason
women.
why, let's talk about the reason why that happened. Because women want to fall into the role of leading the household. We are not the lead in the household. We are the help meet.
Mate, mm-hmm.
That's it. What happens is the roles reverse and everything else happens.
Whew, yeah, I got a lot going
I'm
on.
just saying. I'm just
A
this
lot.
saying. I mean,
this is
it's
the
just crazy. For me, it's crazy because I just feel like sometimes people or individuals say things to get a drive off of something, or they say something because again they want to be in that place. But my thing is, if I'm going to look for a relationship that falls on a biblical ground, then you need to be established like Adam. You need to walk like Boaz. And you need to have the strength like David. Come on. If
Like
I'm gonna
David,
have that, and if I'm
Big
gonna carry
Dave.
those, shut up, David. But I'm just
but see
saying,
this is
that's the characteristics that you're gonna look for in a man. Then that's what you look for. You're not gonna sit here and say, and then I want you to have the patience like Job with me, because sometimes I'm not gonna be. I'm flawed. I'm gonna get on your nerves sometimes, but you gotta have patience like Job with me. So when we look at things, we gotta look at the whole picture, the whole aspect of everything, and then know what you want. Just because I say I don't want a man that don't have a car, that may be okay with you,
So,
but it may not be okay with me because
so,
I'm gonna ask a million questions. And it's not that I don't think that you can't provide for me. I want to know why.
So let me interrupt. So this kind of takes away from one of the when we said women use men. So that was one of the points also that was brought up, transportation. That when women don't want to drive long distances or do things, they can always get a man to do that. So I guess when someone says, "Oh, I don't have a car," that might kill that notion. But we know that, yeah, that that still happens. That women say, "Oh, I'm not about to do all this. Oh, I got to go here. I got to go there." And you'll find some man that'll do it, especially if he likes you. His ass would drive across the country if he thinks he's going to be in good graces with you.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes that happens that women use men as far as transportation wise. You may have a 2023 Range Rover Benz sending your thing, but if you don't want to drive, and if you're comfortable, you may say, "Oh, he could drive. He could. I trust him to drive the vehicle." But if not, you'll say, "Hey, I'm just gonna ride with him." So that was one of the things also they talked about when when you look up this information, they said women use men for transportation.
See, and what a lot of people have to realize is this: I'm transparent when it comes to this type of stuff. I don't hide this stuff. There's no reason for me to hide this stuff. Now you have some men out there who will shuck and jive. They're gonna lie. They're gonna deceive you. I'm not gonna do that. I opened the story with what I did, but the only thing that was the focus was what I didn't have. And this is why I always tell people, hey, look, this is what I come to the party with. You are absolutely free to go down the street and find a man that has that car that you want. He doesn't have a house. He's not well represented in his community. He's not an asset to himself or anybody else. And you can let him drive you to wherever you want to go. But when his representative is no longer there and he shows up, don't complain about what he doesn't have, because a lot of women will do that. They will say, well, girl, he had this, he's wearing this, but he ain't got nothing else. He ain't done nothing. He ain't been nowhere. So now we have this juxtaposition of a guy who has all the financial trappings, I'm sorry, the word is losing me right now. All the tangibles, but none of the intangibles. And this is how a lot of women get caught up. So the guy that comes through with all the flash, all the dash, and no substance, by the time you figure out what he's really about, especially as a younger woman, if you ain't got pregnant, you escape. It just so happens that a lot of these women don't escape without some collateral damage. And usually that collateral damage happens here. So now she got to heal, if she's not jaded for the rest of her life, about a certain kind of guy. This is why I don't believe in lying. This is why I believe in being upfront with what I don't have. I tell a female from day one, look, I do not have a car. I do have a valid driver's license. And if need be, I can go rent a car to go where I want to. But that's because I plan events. Like I said, when I purchased the tickets for the concert, they were months in advance. So the individual I had already went with, she earned the expenditure of $350 because she accepted me as I am. Faith is what she was rewarded with. She had the faith in me to say, okay, you know what? I see he doesn't have a car, but I see he owns a home. I see he's involved in the community. I see he's ran for public office. Those are checks in my book. So I don't mind picking him up and us going places, because he's going to pick up the tab and I ain't got to do nothing else. Those are the type of women that I roll with. So if somebody sees me as not owning the car as a liability, then like I said, hey, I'm not your cup of tea. There's no problem. I understand. I'm not going to put that on you. You have every right as a woman to establish what it is that you want a man to bring to you. But see, men aren't afforded that same thing. We here as men, accept me as I am. What the fuck is wrong with you? Are you out your goddamn mind? But men can't do that. That's the double standard that we never hear about. This is why I tell guys, be firm in your stance. And if she don't like it, let her go. Don't chase after her. Don't give it a second thought. because you're not losing. It's like Kevin Samuels used to say, and I know y'all don't like Kevin Samuels. Don't have a scarcity mindset. I don't have a scarcity mindset because where one won't, another one will. Believe me, I have had no shortage of women willing to pick me up to go on an excursion. That's the big bad wolf speak.
These women firing off tonight.
But you know that this is not the first time I've generated some heat in the kitchen. I like to cook, so the heat in the kitchen don't bother me. Just give me some water. I'm golden. I'm built for that. People have to realize that if a man runs from a situation that he has created, then he ain't a man. This is a situation that I created by letting some information out. I'm prepared to deal with that because I understand what's coming. And I'm okay with that. Like I said, women have every right. It's just like we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Do black women have the right to be upset with black men for not earning? Absolutely, they do. And I stand by that. Absolutely, they do. But the problem is this. A lot of what the women think men should bring to the table is an unreal expectation because they themselves aren't bringing that to the table. Now, if you're bringing that to the table as a woman, then absolutely you should have a man that can match you. I've always said in relationships, there's only two defined roles. A man should get a woman pregnant. A woman should carry that child to term. Anything else is negotiable. And I mean that. And I will stand on that. I will take that to my grave because that's the principle that I will build upon. Now, being that I'm not impregnating any woman, whenever I meet a woman, we can negotiate whatever it is that we want from each other. I may meet a woman that's renting an apartment. She don't want to own a house. Okay, you can come here. I don't want to buy a car. You got the car. You do whatever it is that you need to do. I don't need a car. That's why I didn't buy one. I live a 15, 20-minute walk from work. In the summertime, I ride a bike. My grocery store, 15-minute walk. I have no problem walking. If I need to go out somewhere further, I stay on the bus line. I have no problem catching a bus. I grew up like that. Why should that be a foreign concept to me? A lot of people want to distance themselves from what makes them a solid individual. And that's the problem that a lot of men don't understand is what makes you you is what makes you unique. What makes you unique is going to either draw women to you or is going to repulse women. And you have to be fine with that. You have to be able to say, okay, you know what? I don't have what it is that she wants. That's cool. Let her go on about her way. Focus on what it is that the women that like you like about you and enhance that, grow that, develop that. Now you can add to it. Who knows, in 7, 8 years, I may decide to buy a car. But that's not going to change the core principles of Herbert. I'm me, regardless if I own a car or not. I have a 2-car garage. I just decided to put a bike in it. Does that change my core principles? Does that make me a better person? No. Just makes me a person with a car.
Wow. And you know, based on what you said, like one of the things is if you do have deficits as a man, you better be able to bring out your strengths. And that's the same thing like when you're in interviews and all this stuff. You know, one of the questions, you know, they often ask, like, what's your strengths and weaknesses? And people have a hard time with that question. But I guess if you, when you think about dating and you're in conversation with a woman and you're getting to know them, again, we always have to find out what makes people tick, knowing their personnel. You're gonna gear your strengths towards something that they're interested in, um, as far as winning, because you're studying their conversation, and you know, okay, I got a deficit, but I want to show them that I still bring this to the table, or just because this I don't have this, I'm capable of doing that. So it's strategic. So it goes to the first talking point of what makes things complicated. Why is this so complicated? And we said people make it complicated, but it's all these different things that's put out there now that probably wasn't an issue before. It's a lot going. It's a lot. We got a lot of comments in the chat. Claire said your career options are maxed out to a 20 mile radius from your home. You could have a car and get a job further away that pays more. The opportunity is gone. Naomi said, I place a high value on a potential suitor, characters and values. So that's one of the things. You look at characters or values, experiences, job expertise. So it's so many things, but it's all about you and what you value and what your values are. Some things don't mean as much to others as it may mean to the next person. That may be a standout point. Oh, he got to have a car because that's the one thing my father drilled in me, or my grandfather drilled in me. Don't date no man without a car. Don't get involved with a man without an education and stuff like that. So it's part of your perspectives and your culture and your, pretty much your everyday existence from growing up, like stuff that you believe in. But sometimes you might have to step out that box too.
Let me jump in here for a hot second. Just so people understand, I've been riding with Dave since Dave has been doing this, I think, on Blog Talk.
Yes.
This is not NOT the first time that me not having a car has been the topic of discussion. We had the old military man, I can't remember his name, who was railing against the fact that I didn't own a car. He said he would never let his daughter date a man like me.
Jesse.
I have not changed, and that's been what, almost 10 years, Dave?
Like 8 years. It was 8 years.
Yeah. People, there's something that people need to understand about. And it's like what's the name said in the chat. I'm content with my lifestyle. I'm not asking anybody to raise my standard of living. I'm not asking anybody to bend over backwards for me. I'm not asking anybody to do anything for me I can't do for myself. I've driven in a rental car so far east that I went to another time zone to visit somebody. That individual didn't have to do nothing. As a matter of fact, I took that individual a present for their birthday. Didn't have to ask me. I did because that's the type of individual I am. Had a blast out there. Visited somewhere I've never been before. Had a fantastic time. Drove back home, dropped that car off. None of worse weather. I can do things because of how I situate my life. I can do things when I want to. As far as something on the cusp of the moment, I don't live like that. Not because I can't, but because that's just not how I live my life. Now, granted, when it comes to sports, I might up and do something like that. Case in point, when the Yankees were playing in the postseason.
I love y'all. I gotta go.
I'm gonna send you an invite, Anetta, so I can get some ideas from you too. I'm not done with the 100 questions, but as always, Boo, I love you.
Jesus, your 100 questions taking me out here. I miss y'all. I love y'all.
Love you too. Love you too. Thanks for
And
joining.
I have to go
Alright,
too because
Kay.
of my appointment early.
Yeah.
It was nice meeting you, young lady. I appreciate
You
you.
as well.
We have
Actually,
to
you know what?
We have to connect, huh?
Yes, y'all do. I would advise that because you ladies, and I mean this sincerely, you bring an element to this platform that Dave and I cannot. Your expertise, your knowledge, and your wisdom is only superseded by the fact that you're actually willing to share that. And I mean that sincerely.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Herman
Thank you,
J.
ladies, for
Thank you.
joining.
All right. Love you
Appreciate you.
guys. Good night.
Love you too.
Yes,
All
have a
right. Good
blessed
night.
night,
You
everyone. Good
too.
night.
All right. Good night.
Let me finish my statement before I answer the question by Naomi. I don't have a problem with being able to do the things. Like I said, the game that I went to in Cleveland, it was a spur of the moment thing. $430 for a ticket, no problem. Dropped that, rented a car, got the hotel, went down there, had a grand time. No muss, no fuss. I get back here, I don't have to explain anything to anybody. Drop the car off, the house is in order, the cats are fine, I'm good. Now, Naomi, you asked the concert tickets as a reward, and she was cool with it. Question was she a black woman? Question is, does it matter? She's a woman. She's a woman I've been dealing with for some time. See, I don't get caught up in the whole ethnicity thing. I'm more concerned about the human aspect of how this individual treats me. And this individual treated me very well. So when I say it was a reward, it was. It was, like I said before, it was a reward for her having the faith to spend time with an individual who didn't own a vehicle. Because as has already been established, for some women, that's a deal breaker. So she was rewarded for that. Now, mind you, she's been rewarded for other things. That was just the one thing I mentioned. This individual and I, we've been to Yankee games. We've been to Toronto Raptor basketball games. I footed the bill for all those tickets. The only thing this individual did was drive. See, this is what I tell you about men. If a man is willing to put that out there for you, that quote unquote, that's a shortcoming, and you're going to ridicule him for it, make sure you're prepared to be ridiculed yourself. See, a lot of women don't want to sit in that chair. They want to take shots, but the moment the ammunition is turned around on them or the rabbit has a gun, they want to feel, well, that's not fair, I'm a woman.
And let me jump in. And
Yeah.
I think that's big, that when a man or a woman shows their vulnerability, it's not for you to poke shots at it. That's a strength for a man or anyone to show their vulnerability with you. And that also goes along with building trust.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be slighted or whatever the case is. If I tell you something, like, listen, I never was able to do this. I was never able to do this. And the reason why, because this is how I was brought up in my childhood. It's not to be made to be shunned on him like, oh, he can't do this, he can't do that. And I think that's the problem. Because you know what happens? Usually when you tell that person something, your vulnerability, they're quick to, and that was a point that should have been brought up in the first point about oversharing information with other people. You're quick to share that information with other people, then they're throwing their little jabs at it, and it makes it worse, and it clouds your judgment. But in all reality, you say, and when it's just me and him, Dylan, it really wasn't that bad, but I got other people involved, and now they put out information that kind of made me look at him in a different light. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. When people give you information and they're vulnerable, take it and accept it, and see what you can do to maybe help them overcome that. All right, that's me. All right, got some comments.
Let me address the stupid person in the chat. Bitch, you are out of line. My mother's deceased. Now, I don't know where the fuck you think you get off talking about somebody's deceased parents as if I had some type of motherfucking emotional immaturity. I don't. I don't like a bitch who crosses the motherfucking line and think that shit's so motherfucking K. I'll let you know in no motherfucking uncertain terms that you are out of motherfucking pocket. Now, I can be a nigga and has something done to you. I chose to take the motherfucking road above you. That's why I'm friends with your dumb ass. Now keep sitting in the chat trying to take pot shots and we can get this shit cooking. You did?
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Screenshot that. Dumbass. You don't understand that the shit you do has a reaction to it. And this is the reaction. I don't know anybody else in this world who would think that them speaking ill of somebody that they don't know and then invoking their parents in a situation that had nothing to do with it. That's immaturity. You got your ass handed to you in the discussion. You couldn't handle the fact that you got your ass handed to you in the discussion, and then you went off the rails insinuating that I was gay. I didn't respond to any of that, but what I took offense to was the fact that you're talking about my mother. You don't know me that well. My mother's deceased. You out of pocket. You want to continue to be out of pocket? Be out of pocket, but understand the next person might not take it that well. They might just roast your ass. I'm giving you free advice. Take it or leave it.
Well, see, and this is the thing about this platform. And this ain't the first time. We've had 4 or 5 people on the panel, and it was just like massive uproars. And the thing is, when you're bringing out these information, it's going to draw out emotions. It's going to draw out emotions. So it's nothing scripted here. It is what it is. Now, I know that certain platforms, you don't want to have the language and all of that stuff, or you don't want YouTube to get a check or whatever. I'm the type of whatever you have to deal with this. You have to deal with that later, because for me as a counselor in the school system, it is what it is. Of course, I have to be political and say the right things, but for the most part, it is what it is. Whatever, you can't hold back, and this is more of a adult platform, so sometimes it's gonna get feisty, and things are gonna be said. But never do I want anybody to be on here, talking about somebody's mother or whatever the case is that's deceased and all that stuff, because family, children, and other people, that has nothing to do with direct conversations between 2 adults. So we should always keep it there. But I'm not even talking about this isolated event we didn't have before in the past, that people would bring other people into it, when really it's about the person you eyeballing. That's where the issues. That's where the discussion falls, and no one else. All right, you carry on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I tell people I've sat with elected officials running for an office and had debates. So I'm not above having a debate or discussion, but keep it relevant to what the discussion is about. When an individual starts to attack another individual personally and in a manner that had nothing to do with the discussion, you put your behind in a sling. Don't be mad when they get smacked. You have too many people doing that nonsense, and people need to learn. There's consequences and repercussions for actions, good, bad, or indifferent. And when somebody crosses the line with me, I let them know so they can't say, you know what? I didn't know. I was unaware. I'm just putting it out there. That's for anybody. And this is the first time, as David has alluded to, this is the first time I've had women come at me sideways. It doesn't bother me. But like I said, I'm going to let you know that what you did or the actions that you engaged in, they're not necessary. An individual don't like me, that's cool. Going about your way. But I'm not going to sit up here and be verbally assassinated because you think you have carte blanche to do it and did not say anything. No, that's wrong. I'm not that dude. I don't turn that cheek. I'm going to let you know. Stay in your lane. That's all. I'm not an asshole, but I can play one.
It's a lot. I always say, You don't never know what's gonna happen, what's gonna go down in the counselor's corner. That's a given. And we really haven't even touched on some of the other stuff that I, that was put out there that women use men for. And it was a lot. And I might want to hold on to it because I know in the TikTok world, when I posted the promo and I said about the unwanted pregnancies, oh, they were giving me the business about that. They were basically saying what woman as far as that wants to have a child and they put their life at risk with so many complications. And I say it happens all the time. It happens all the time. But they were trying to take me through the ringer on that one on TikTok. Like it's so many things that go on, like the post traumatic syndrome of having a child and all that stuff. And I said, well, we're not looking at it in a negative light. Most people don't. Most people don't think when they deal with childbirth, like they don't look at the absolute worst thing that can happen. Some women, not all, may say, "Hey, this is a quality guy. He got me pregnant. There's going to be a financial reward for this." But a couple of the women on TikTok were saying that's not what they do. Why would they sign up for that? And I'm like, okay, I didn't really, because you only could
So
type in
it's
so many
limited,
words.
yeah. It's limited. That's the only thing about TikTok that the funny thing about that is this. It's forced me to be a little bit more concise with limited wording. So I've learned to navigate that and actually get my point across. So it's just like, yeah, it is. It reminds me what Twitter used to be. Mind you, I've never been on Twitter. I understood that it had a similar character limit, similar to what TikTok was. I think it was like 150 characters, and TikTok is the same way. So it's funny, but I managed. I managed to do that.
So if you want to go ahead, I just want to pull up some of the stuff that was said because they were going in, they were going in a little bit. They were hot about that subject matter.
But see, this is the thing with a woman getting pregnant without the benefit of marriage. If she doesn't want to, she does not have to. The last time I looked at a situation like this, that's rape if the woman doesn't want to consent to sex. Now, I know there's apps out there. I know there's calendars. There's a myriad of ways for a woman to keep track of her cycle. And if she's at that time of the month where she is vulnerable to conception, there's methods of prevention for both men and women. Combining those is usually a pretty effective means of avoiding that 5 to 6, 7 day window of possible conception. So if a woman doesn't want to engage in it, and as you were saying, David, she wants to risk potential death, that's on her. We have the whole Brittany Renner situation. There are a lot of women who will do that for that financial windfall. There are women who will do it for less. There are some women who will do that to try and keep a man. Now, I'm not here to try to just address or even dissect female thought when it comes to that stuff. Lord knows that's a different frontier. I don't even care. All I know is I don't want to be a part of it, which is why I choose to do the things in a manner that I do.
And for me, for that subject matter, it's kind of like a lot of times here, even like in the Facebook platform, the counselor's corner, you have people say, "Oh, y'all hate women, y'all put everything." And I say, I work a equal program. We talk about men, we talk about women, we talk about education. I have 10 core subject areas that I speak on, so anybody can get it if you fall under that realm. This just happened been a question about how women use men, because oftentimes we talk about how men use women. So that was brought up, the unwanted pregnancies, and then that's when they took it to all the post-traumatics. No women wants to have this, that we can lose our life over this. And I said, wow, such a beautiful experience bringing a child into the world. I don't think most women look at it, and I don't say most because, like I told them, I don't deal with statistics and all that stuff like that. But I think a great deal of them, when they're having a child, they don't look at the absolute worst things that could happen. So that's how that conversation came. And let me just read some of the dialogue. I just had it, and then it just disappeared. Hold on. Because I said, unfortunately, this segment tomorrow night is about women. And somebody said, exactly. I don't think women risking death by giving birth just to use a man. And I said, well, someone will do it if the guy is financially stable and they are looking for that child support payment to come in. They said the majority of men, 98%, that's a high percentage, aren't paying enough child support for someone to risk their life. They're not paying child support at all. So I don't even know how they got to the point of celebrity child support, because I'm not even talking about celebrities. I'm talking about average, middle class, lower class, high lower class, middle class people that go through things. And I said, I'm not dealing with percentages. I just know this is a way women use men. Tune in tonight. And she said, how would a woman risking her life use a man, though? It doesn't. Dealing with percentages is dealing with reality. Have a great night. So I said, so you look at pregnancies as a risk of losing your life. I guess that sheds a negative light on the potential birth of a child, the whole process. She said there's many negative things that happen to the body when someone gets pregnant. Like, who cares if it's a negative light, LOL. So that's how the conversation kind of went. And she kept talking, kept putting the emphasis on, I guess, the risk factors of getting pregnant. But I was more so talking about how women get pregnant, the financial factors. That some women like, oh, I done struck a gold mine now because he makes this. And I'm not talking about NBA players and rappers and entertainers, but some guys make decent money and they may, hey, hook up with somebody. Because remember, some guys, they don't look at a woman's pay scale and stuff like that. Hey, they may say, oh, damn, she cute, she fine, she's fit, and they make moves.
Yeah.
But then if they get caught out there, then that's when the repercussions come, that they got to pay this money and all that. That's what I was focused on. But see, but it shows you the different perspectives that these conversations bring out. So here you have it. I ain't gonna be the dead horse about that whole thing, but that was interesting, that conversation on TikTok.
Hey man, they're out there. They are out there. That's that's all I can say is caveat emptor, buyer beware, because there's a lot of brothers putting themselves in that situation, man, and they need to be aware that you got some women out there that are operating unscrupulously. Now, same point in time, if you're putting yourself in that position to be taken advantage of, then the fault is going to reside with you. This is why I tell fellas, hey, look, take that sex off the table. I know she might look good, she might have that thump, she might have that grind, but you don't know what you're necessarily getting yourself into until it might be too late. EPMD made a song almost 30 years ago called Gold Digger. 3 Times Dope made a song called Funky Dividends. Kanye West remade Gold Digger. They putting this information out there for y'all to use. Don't just consume the content without understanding the story. Understand the story as well. God, it can't impress upon you to not understand that story, because a lot of these brothers are walking around here without the benefit of a older male putting them on game, as we like to say. This is why the manosphere exists. A lot of people rail against the manosphere, talking about, oh, they're just a bunch of incels, they misogynists. No, they leveling the playing field. They giving men, particularly men who grew up without the benefit of having a father or an uncle or an older relative putting them on the game as to what females might do. They're just giving them information. And the last time I checked, having information wasn't a bad thing. G.I. Joe's slogan was what? Knowing is half the battle. A lot of women don't want men to know. They want y'all to walk around here deaf, dumb, blind, and ignorant to what they might do. Get the information, utilize it.
So let me read Claire's comment. She said, okay, hold on, hear me out. The majority of single men aren't even usable anymore. Not that they should be used, but y'all realize some men only pay $25 a month. Yeah, I can't speak to those. I can't speak to those men because I never desired to be on that level. And I know there's some men out there that's probably paying $25 a month, but those men strategically make sure that they only paying a certain amount. Some men will quit jobs so that they don't have to pay, or they only work a certain amount of hours so that they don't have to pay this or that. And you know what? They hook up with someone that's getting a full slated benefits of social service, and they good. And they're good. So it's a lot of trickery. So we have to open our minds to all the different things that's out there and all the different things that people do. Listen, all I know is from my family upbringing is work. You work. You don't rely on nobody to take care of you. You work. You don't look for handouts. You work. If you can't get it from your family members, then who else you gonna get it from? You can look for the government, but that's not how I was raised. So you work, and you try to make it happen. We lost all sense of that.
Just backed up.
Shido said we have deviated from the natural order of things. So this is the Bacon outcome of disobedience and order. Indeed, Herb, this is a man fighting against a rigid game in this environment. So, and remember, these conversations need to be had. They need to be thrown out there. And I think Herb said something valuable earlier in the thing, that a lot of times we're always getting feedback from people that we always around. The same feedback, you already know how they think. Sometimes you have to hear what other people think, or you have to have somebody in your crew to say, "Nah, I totally disagree with that." Because I think the problem is with most folks, even when we were younger, you always wanted to fit in. So you're never going to say something against 3 or 4 people, say, "No, y'all dead wrong." Because other than that, you wouldn't be a part of that. They would kick you out. But when you become a grown man or a grown woman, you relish those opportunities to say,
Yeah,
think like y'all. So, and when you feel that way and you're confident about it, the same people mad at you, those are the same people that's still going to be trying to get at you without them knowing, because they realize, shit, this is the leader. He the captain of the ship right there, the person who went against everything we said or spoke against. So sometimes you just got to be a leader and like, yo, the shit y'all doing ain't right. And I don't agree with it.
there's power in standing out from the crowd. And I don't think a lot of men understand that. We know women do. But the thing about a woman standing out from the crowd is she's generally vilified by other women. They call her a pick me. They say, oh, you think you this or you think you that, to the point of almost physically wanting to attack her. But women won't do that to men because they understand there's a price to pay, and that's too steep of a price to pay. But women, they'll do it. We've heard stories of women throwing acid on other women merely for the fact that they are more attractive. They want to scar their looks. We don't hear that with men because that retribution comes back. So understand, when you find somebody that's willing to stand out from the crowd and they stand on their principles, find out how you can be like them. Find out how they're able to stand up to the scrutiny. Because I assure you, that individual, whether it's me, David, Anetta, Jackie, there's something to be learned about being able to withstand the scrutiny. Not because you want to, it's because all the things you've done in your life leads up to that point. I haven't owned a car in 20 years. It doesn't bother me. It may be another 10 years before I do own a car. I don't need a car. Like I said earlier, I don't need one. It doesn't make me a better man. It doesn't draw better women to me. If anything, it draws the right woman to me. Because if the only thing that I don't have is the thing that keeps her away, she's telling me that she's not worth my time. And I'm not going to bother wasting it on her. I don't waste my time on anybody that doesn't align with my purpose. I'm far too easy to tell you to kick rocks. And maybe that's a shortcoming of mine that, I don't extend people that grace. Yeah, I don't need to. At my age, it's all downhill from here. And I got the ball. If you in my way, you get ran over. I'm trying to score. That's a football reference.
And I think that's a point that needs to be spoken to, that sometimes we have to look at time and season and place and all that stuff to realize certain times you get a certain age, certain things you don't permit, we just don't fly by. Things we talked about this early, things that even as far as the dating aspect, things you did in your 20s or 30s is not relevant to the 50s. Your patience may run thinner. You have a lower tolerance level for certain things. Most of us have reached on this platform as we're into our second tier of our second half of our life. This is it. And the thing about it is, this second half is short. It's real short. In this day and age, you don't understand the importance of not waking up when you 51, 52, 53, and people are like, oh, he died so young, or this or that, or she died so young. It's real. So people that, in their 70s and 80s, and who had mentioned, Jackie said her grandmother was 95.
Yeah.
Hell of a life.
Yeah.
A good life. A great life. But the only thing is that she came over here and then finally started getting sick. It's unfortunate. And she probably came over here to have a better life, but it's so much stuff going on. We talked about this last week, and we talked about this before we came on air with this COVID stuff and all these different variations and all this stuff. People need to realize it's wild. It's wild. And the thing about it is, people think, oh, it's January. Winter has really, what is it? We're only a month into it.
Pretty much, yeah.
So you still got to deal with the dog days of February and up into the middle of March, and it depends on where you live. Sometimes it goes on through March, And in some places, back home, I remember getting ready to get out of college in May, and it was snowing. So stuff is real, but I'm saying this to be saying that as we get older, we have to be conscious of our time, the people that we deal with, and our stress level. You don't want too many stressors in your life, whatever. And I've said this before. I don't give a damn who you is. If you all about stress and it's always about that, you can trust and believe I know how to hide out in the counselor's corner, and I ain't trying to talk to you like that. I ain't trying to get caught up in those conversations. I can't do it no more. I can't do it no more. Especially working in a middle school made me appreciate my time because it's all day, every minute when I'm at work that is issues. But sometimes that keeps me going because it makes me laugh, some of their situations. But then sometimes I like, damn, tie their situations into adult situations. I said, we ain't nothing but big ass kids. Big kids. All right. Let me see what Claire said. If I was an immigrant and came here, I'll probably turn around and leave. LOL. And return to starvation. LOL. We have had snow in May plenty of times. And that's true. So that's it. We're going to probably get ready to close it out with some closing comments, but this is the platform of the Counselor's Corner. So we may get mad, we may say things and all that stuff but it's all about growth and understanding and being uncomfortable with certain conversations. If you're not ready to grow, you're not ready to have certain conversations. If you're not ready to grow, you damn sure should think about being in a relationship, because you may deal with somebody that may be ready to push you to make you to grow. And if you still stuck on stupid and don't want to do it and do the same things, then you need to stay where you at, because it's going to be some people that challenge you.
Indeed they will. And I always tell people, sometimes you got to stand up for yourself. Sometimes you have to man a parapet and accept those challenges as they present themselves, and when necessary, deal with them. Don't let nobody try and step on you. Don't let nobody try and make an example out of you. Address them, address it, and be done with it.
Let me just read Jido. Snow in May. Where did you live back there? Siberia? I thought you sound Russia, David. Nah, Niagara Falls, New York. It don't happen all the time, but it very well can happen. You can get some snow. You can get some snow in May. Like I said, it's not all that often, but I remember that those times. I don't know, it was probably like 1988, 89, but I think it happened even after that too. Like
we've gotten snow as early as October. I remember about 10 years ago, we had a major storm come through here. And like I said, we're talking October, knocked out power lines. I remember because I was still working at another hotel. And I remember we had Niagara Mohawk crews lined up doing power restoration. So, we live in Western New York, and we live with the knowledge that, anytime, anywhere, we can get weather that's unpredictable. Just like people were saying that they never heard a thunderclap in winter. I was like, it's uncommon. But I've heard it before because 2 or 3 days ago, we got I would consider it a dusting, about 2 inches. And there was a thunderclap early in the day, and people didn't know what it was. It's not that uncommon as far as I'm concerned, but it happens. I mean, what do you do?
All right. Herb, everything that was said, what's your closing comment on tonight's conversation?
And we covered a lot of ground. A lot of ground. There's a lot of good information, put through there. People, go back if you were late. Go back and get yourself some popcorn, notepad, pen, and take down some of the information that was provided, by everybody on this panel, and do your own due diligence, do your own research, and ask these questions among people you don't know. Don't worry about the echo chamber. If you want some different information, you have to seek different sources. Don't always go to the same book. Read an updated version of that book. And I put Ron Will's name in the chat along with Alan Roger Curry. I do highly suggest that you pick up those gentlemen's books, especially Alan Roger Curry and Ron Wills, of course. That's why I put them in there, because they have information in those books that will help you to navigate the dating scene if you're still in the dating scene, or they're just going to help you navigate everyday life. So you're not uninvolved, you're not ignorant, you're not walking around trying to figure out some things that most people would think you have some knowledge of. And as always, growth and understanding occurs in the gray area. Godspeed. See you next time.
All right. And for my thing, again, I want to go back to something that was said from the first segment, that proverbial timeline. A lot of times we feel like we're pressed, as the kids say. Mr. Glover, you pressed. I ain't pressed. You ain't gonna tell me I'm pressed, little kid. But sometimes we feel that you're pressed to do certain things, or certain things need to be done at a certain time. Work at your own pace, your own comfortability. Never let someone else's story be your story. You need to dictate your own story. Be the creator, the author of your story. And a lot of times we're trying to duplicate what other people do, but we're not just there. We're not there yet. So be the author and creator of your own story, and don't sweat that timeline for others, because that might not be your timeline. But although we all know we're on a timeline, and the clock is ticking, and it doesn't stop. So, and I think that's people's greatest fear, because we don't know. We're in a movie that we don't never know when it's going to end. We never know when it's going to end, and I think that's the scary thing about it. But I think we just have to be comfortable, confident, and just try to live our lives to the best of our abilities, and hopefully our story can extend and keep extending, and just have to go from there. With that said, we out of here. Please like and share, subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. Please like and share this video, and please, if you're on Facebook, log in to accept or request to join the Counselor's Corner, and you'll very much get some of the conversations from there we bring to here. And I just wish that the people that participate every day in the Counselor's Corner should come on over here, because I ain't about to sit up there and keyboard type all day when I got to work and all that stuff. I always say, when the lights get bright, come on in here with your comments so I can read them, and you can see me face to face with the lights are bright. But a lot of people, again, we talked about social media. That is some people's, that's their daddy. Social media is a lot of people's daddy.
Mm-hmm.
That they can't do anything, and that gives them confidence. But again, like I was telling one of my friends, she was like, "Oh, I'm about to start a podcast or hook up with some people with podcasts." I said, "You got to be ready for the ridicule. You got to be ready for everything, because people gonna come at you, and you got to be ready for it." And that's the thing. So a lot of times people like to hide, but they don't want to come to a platform where, hey, let's talk. Let's have this conversation, because I'm not going to go back and forth with you on TikTok all day long and in the Counselor's Corner. I can tell you Monday nights at 9 p.m., come see me. Come see us. And I'm here. So with that said, we out. Everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Stay safe, be well, and be great. And we'll see you next time. Peace.
Take care.